Good evening. It's the Fit Lawyer ATL, and we are live from New York City, baby. Came into town for the trial, well, for the sentencing. Put a one in the chat if you can hear me. Let me get everyone to hit the like button as you're coming into the room. And y'all, somebody put a one in the chat if you can hear me. Got my mic on. We'll make sure you can hear me. Okay. All right. Thank you for always, forever for life. Shout out one of my day ones and one of my mods. Thank you so much. Shanika Young is in the house. All right. Big baby. What does that say? Big baby CNC in the house. Shout out Nikki's news on narcissism. Funny you. Funny. Might have saw a little narcissism today. All right. Linda Kelly says, hello, Fit Lawyer. Hello, thank you all for tuning in. Yes, so if you're just coming to the channel, my name is the Fit Lawyer ATL. I am a 20-year criminal defense attorney in Atlanta, Georgia, and I have my own practice, the Adams Firm, and I just wanted to see what was going to happen today. So I caught a flight. Actually, it started with me hiring a line sitter. So y'all come on into the room because we're going to get into all the tea today. We're going to get into that. I'm going to tell y'all everything. I'm just going to take you step by step as to like how it played out today in the courtroom because I was there for it all from the beginning. So come on into the room. Let's see who else we got coming in. Hello, Isabella, 203. Nini's in the house. Kia Elder 305. Hey, Kia, it's been a minute. Thank you for coming in. Other people's dramas in the house. Sweet lady Let's Eat is in the house. Yes, y'all come on into the room. We got 41 in the chat. If you're just coming in, hit the like button. We're going to long stroke this thing. And if you all know anything about long stroking, my mentor on YouTube is the lead attorney. And we're going to do it like that tonight. So don't y'all come in here rushing me. Y'all already know what the sentence is. So I'm going to take my time and take you through my day at the Southern District of New York. Because I flew into town, so we're going to long stroke it, all right? So if you're coming in just to get some quick tea, I mean, I don't know what's quick. The sentence already been announced. We're going to take our time with this thing tonight, all right? Y'all told me y'all want me to long stroke it, right? So that's what we're going to do. That's what we're going to do tonight. So y'all come on in the room and get settled. Yes, great back on YT. Kia Eldest, I was on your live earlier. I admire you all, sis. Thank you so much. This has just been so like I'm so geeked to be up here because as an attorney, I'm all here for the legal stuff, right? So I can't tell you half the names of the people in the courtroom that aren't like his kids and stuff. I don't care about none of that. I just really wanted to hear the legal arguments because I knew, as I said on my live last night, as I said the day my live after he got sentenced, it really was going to come down to the leveling and where the judge decided the leveling was, that was going to put us in a range. And once the judge kind of let us know the leveling early on, the writing was on the wall. It just really, the day played out for him to see if he's going to change his mind. But it was kind of clear to the courtroom that he came in with his mind already made up. So yes. Yes. So Linda Kelly says I was on it fast to get a line sitter. Let me tell you. So I had the inside scoop. So I have a friend that came up to the trial. So she was up here not every day, but for a lot of the trial, which I don't see how because I have not been in a courtroom and sat in like the bench in a courtroom in a very long time. As a criminal defense attorney, babe, I'm in the jury box, I'm in the VIP seats, I'm in the cushion seat. Like my back, I need a massage. Hey, I could not have come to this trial every day for 8 weeks without getting paid. I'm sorry. My nosiness carried me 24 hours and I'm done. I'm done. Now I got to get back to work and make some money. I admire all of those people that come in here and sit on those hard benches every day, all day to get y'all the tea. Y'all need to give them all the support because your girl could not do it. All right. Oh, for always, forever, for life says, I knew he had his mind made up already. Yeah, it gave that vibe. It gave because think about it. He didn't hear really too much new in the courtroom because all of the letters have already been submitted. All of the video had already been submitted yesterday. So he had already seen and heard a lot. He had got letters from the kids. Carisha wrote a letter, like everybody named Mama wrote letters. So he pretty much had heard everything he needed to hear. Even the doctor who spoke from King Clergy in Florida and the Giovanni, who spoke from the reentry program, he had already heard from them. I mean, he had gotten detailed letters from them. Now, I will say, hearing from Giovanni did add something to his letters that letters didn't convey. So him speaking was good. But I mean, for the most part, he kind of already knew what he's going to do. And what was never public to us was the probation's pre-sentencing report. So the pre-sentencing report outlines which aggravating factors should apply to the leveling. And so it had a recommendation. So the recommendation from the probation was 5 years, 60 months. So that was already given August 20, I think it was like August 25th. And so he already had all of this coming into it. So today was, I'm coming in here, and let me see if you're going to change my mind. And honestly, I think his kids lining up and speaking was the most impactful. And I wouldn't be surprised if the judge came in with 5 and the kids speaking took it down to 4, because hearing from them and the impact and everything that they've suffered, and they're innocent in this, and so are the victims, but it was the most impactful thing to me out of the day. So I could see that being something that changed his mind, but he may have come in with the 4, but he definitely came in with his mind already made up. Forever for always, forever for life says, I don't think the character letters weighed too much on his decision. I've written several character letters before, and they didn't seem to matter that much. Surprisingly, I mean, they do, because they show that there is support. But as the judge said in Diddy's sentencing, yes, you have done all of these. What did my phone just do? Sorry about that. It's on a gimbal. It's on a gimbal and switch orientations. That was weird. But what the judge said, you've done all these great things for your community and for other people, and you inspired them. But at the end of the day, you have also caused all this pain and turmoil to the victim. So while the letters may not seem like they did something, they definitely do, because it shows that the person has support. So don't stop writing character letters for people. But sometimes folks just do stuff bad enough that at the end of the day, you got to take the punishment. And so that pretty much was Diddy's case here, because as the public, and I say the public, well, I'll say as some people, a lot of men like to minimize the victimhood of Cassie and Jane in this situation. They very much were viewed as victims by the judge, and the judge considered Diddy's actions in harming them, in the physical violence, the emotional violence, a big deal. He called the evidence of the freak offs and the evidence of the violence massive. Okay, y'all have heard the evidence, but the judge felt as if it was massive. And now you have to think about this. The judge is not a judge of his peer, right? So he's not someone who grew up, he's not Black, he's not someone who grew up in the hood, well, they didn't grow up in the hood really, because his mom moved to Mount Vernon once anyway, but just not from the urban lifestyle, right? So while some of this may not shock the conscience of a lot of people, it appears that it did for the judge and hearing it. And so he mentioned it a lot of times in the sentencing, seeing the pictures, seeing the bruises, seeing the physical abuse, and just hearing about it, seeing the text messages, seeing the power and control he had over the victims. It really weighed on the judge, and that really played a big part into why he got time today, and why no matter what he said and what he plans to do in the future, he had to give some time before he can get out to do that. So I see some more people coming in the room. We need more women. We sure do. Like, already African Americans, women only make up 2% of the field. So we definitely need more women criminal attorneys. Miss Westmoreland was on the team, and I think his other female attorney's last name is Shapiro. So everyone was active in the courtroom today. So let me just take y'all. Okay, so let me just tell you. So I made the decision to come down here like last week. And so the first thing I did was book the flight. But then I contacted somebody, because I'm like, okay, what's the play-by-play? How do I get in the courtroom? Do I got to get in a line? And so she instantly told me, you're not getting in the courtroom unless you get a line sitter. Sorry, dead ass. You got to get a line sitter. Like, you're not getting into the courtroom unless somebody is in line for you overnight. Is that serious? Is that serious down here in the Southern District of New York City? I was like, a line sitter? Like, okay. So I talked to the guy and I hit him up. And so I'm like, all right, I need a line sitter. I'm going to show y'all the video. His name is KK, and I'm going to give you his information if anybody comes to New York and he's a line sitter for literally like anything. Sample sales from designers, iPhone coming out, play tickets. It's a whole business here, okay? So this is my first time in New York. So I was not aware. So I hit KK up and I'm like, hey, I want to come down for the sentencing, but I want to be in the courtroom. You know, what do I need to do? And he's like, all right, well, I'm getting in line for a couple of people already at 4. I'm getting in line for one person at 2. And I'm like, oh, okay. Well, he said, but you should be fine if I get in line at 4 p.m. We talking about 4 p.m. people, not 4 a.m. 4 p.m. Okay, 4 p.m. the day before the hearing. All right. So I'm like, all right, let me do that. So I book him for 4 p.m. until 6:30 in the morning. I have to come relieve him at 6:30 in the morning. All right. So I go to sleep at night and I have a dream that the person that was paying him at 2 p.m. got in and I was on the outside. And I was like, well, if he gonna already be there, shouldn't he just sit for me at 2 p.m. too? So I hit him back up. Hey, oh, thank you. Okay, so I promise y'all I'm gonna be back more. So I miss you all too. For always, forever for life says I really miss your spirit. I miss y'all too. So I was like, wait a minute. If you're gonna be down there for somebody too, let me be like up there too. So I was like, all right, bet. Put me in line for 2. So I had to pay him for 2 more hours, $25 an hour. All right. So as I'm headed in the Uber to the airport on Thursday at 12, like 25, he texts me and says, hey, I'm headed down because there are already 11 people in line. Mind you, this is 12:30 the day before. We're almost 24 hours advance. It's 11 people in line. I was like, okay. So you hurrying up, right? So he hurried up and got down there. He had a little deal worked out. He wasn't in spot to get me in the courtroom, but he paid somebody $100, which means I had to pay an extra $100. Anyway, got into the courtroom. All right, fast forward. So I had to check in today at 6:30 in the morning. I get down there, and so I don't know what the deal is gonna be. So y'all know I want to go live, right? Because clearly court doesn't start at 10. So I come down there with like my little suitcase. I got my tripod. I got everything with me because I don't know what the setup is gonna be. But when I get down there, so I trade places with him, and so are the other people that he's been sitting for. It's like 4 of us. So we take over, he leaves, and then basically the line starts inching up, I would say like around 7 a.m. So at 7 a.m., a media person for the courthouse comes out and she starts a list. And she starts a list of press people and then a list of public. And I don't know how many people get on the press side. I think they had like extra 3 rows today. And then on the public side, the first 17 will get into the courtroom. So that's why it was important to have a line sitter, because if you're not in that first 17, then you got to just camp out all day until court starts to see if you'll make it into an overflow room. Fit did not fly to New York to be in an overflow room. I'm like, I need to get in the courtroom. I want to see everything. I want to hear every breath. I want to see what the attorneys, I just want to be front and center. So I was good until the line started going in. Y'all know some Negroes had to jump the line. Oh my God. It was like 3 people jumped the line, which we didn't realize until it was time to walk in. And when they started doing the count off, we got left out. So me and a guy named Sam in front of me, I think his name is Sam, in front of me, he was livid. And I'm livid too, because we've been paying hundreds of dollars for a line sitter for us to be left out because somebody jumped the line. So we out there, respectfully raising hell because one police plaza is 2 blocks up the way and we are at the courthouse. So I'm not trying to, go to jail, but at the same time, and see, the cops don't have anything to do with this because they're like, we don't know anything about line sitters. Y'all on the outside of the barricade. We're over here trying to man security to come into the courthouse. So like, that's on y'all. So they weren't even trying to get involved. But we start calling people out. So one lady had great integrity. She stepped out, was like, yeah, I did jump. So she came out. But the guys wouldn't even look our way, so they wouldn't come out. But luckily, the media person came over, and after a lot of just like, oh no, they jumped, she talked to somebody and she said, I can add 5 more. So your girl made it in. So look at that favor, because I was like, oh man, don't have me tell everybody I'm gonna be inside and you got me in the overflow room. You know what I'm saying? So Thank God it ended up working out. So yeah, Sell the Elm says line sitting seems to be a full-time job for some. It really is. So the day after I hired him, he mistakenly texted me the next day that morning, like at 6 o'clock, and was like, "Oh, you're first in line." And he was like, "Oh, my bad, wrong person." He was standing in line for someone at a sample sale of the designer. I don't even know the name of the designer, but she was having a sample sale with 70% off from 9 to 10:30. And so people hired him to stand in line for that. So it is a whole business. He is making his living, and he got his son and nephew working with him too. So it's a family business. But it's not just him. Like it was a whole line of tents, and they have line sitter. Like it's like you can buy your tent that says line sitter and has your number under for people to hire you. It's a whole profession. So if you need line sitters up here, I definitely was going off. Sorry, let me drink some water. I've been talking all day. Yeah, we was about to lose it. But I don't I can't show out like that. But my Caucasian friend that was in front of me was able to show out like that, so I just rolled with him. So I was like, hey, the white man get in, I'm with him. I'm getting in too. We can't show out like that all the time. But I was with Sam, so I'm like, Sam get in, I'm good too. Days of Our Lives says they say some Obama rule says if you over 50, you do have federal time. That's 2 hours instead of 4. Then there's credit for a drug class that gets off another year. Then there'll be like 1 year left. Is that true? Wow. I don't know. Let me take some notes and I'll look into it. I don't practice in federal court. I am licensed to practice, not licensed because not really licensed, but you have to apply and get admitted. So I have been admitted to the Northern District of Georgia, but I just haven't had a case before them. So I have no clue. So that's why it was really exciting for me to come to see how this whole federal sentencing process was going to work, because I've never done one before. State court is very different. You literally get convicted and the judge sentences you in the next minute. It's not a whole pre-sentencing report. Sometimes you may get a week if it's that type of case, but no, usually it's really quick, and it's not a whole what's your leveling. It's just pre-trial, what's the criminal history? He's already heard the facts of the case and then he sentences you. So it's not all of that in state court. So this was the first time. Okay, is that what it is? Somebody said that dirty New York air is something. Shout out JC. Thank you so much for the $5 super chat. He says, what's the next case? I want to go to. Oh goodness. Like I ain't even finished debriefing from this one. I have no clue. Look, if you didn't, you must not been on when I first got on. Y'all got to pay Fit to go. Okay, Fit got 24 hours worth of nosiness. And that's it. I got to get back to making the money. So I can't sit there for days and days and days. Now, y'all can get me to stream a trial. But I got to get a press. I need to be in the VIP box. Like I need a cushion seat. I need to be where the attorney sit at. If I have to go to court every day. Look, 20 years of sitting in the cushion seat, my back is hurting today sitting out there in gym pop. I can't do it. Y'all got to pay Fit. Y'all got to pay me to sit in there every day. All right. So Cedar Elm says, oh, and I see the live, I think is okay. So it's some trucks going by, look, I'm on a Wi-Fi, I'm in a hotel in New York. So forgive me if it skips or lags. Cedar Elm says if the judge gave him 8 years, what does it mean that the sentence could be overturned? Well, he didn't get 8 years. He only got 4 years. So he got 50 months, which is 4 years and 2 months to do. And then he gets credit for the year and 2 weeks he's already done. So then he has like 3 years and some change left. And I saw somebody else saying if you're over 50, the hours, don't give me the line on that part, but I'll check that part out. But for the most part, he should have 3 years to do. I know in federal, they don't do parole. So you don't just like say in Georgia, you have to do a third of your time and then you'll get paroled out. Doesn't work like that in federal court. You do have to do all of your time, but it gets cut by I do know if you do a drug class, it could take like 10 months off your sentence. So I don't know about the hours over 50, but he can cut his time. Is the sentence worth appealing? No, not in my eyes, but I'm sure he probably will, just for the hell of it. We need to save that money, just put it on his books. Because the judge was very thorough. That's what I mean. This judge and Diddy thanked him at the end. I mean, let me not mispronounce his name. Judge Subramanian was very fair. Like it was times where The government would cite to something, cite to a case, try to cite to like a relevant case to make it aggravated for Diddy. And the judge would point out something that they didn't mention that made that case so different from Diddy's. Or and vice versa though. Defense would bring up a case that they would try to say Diddy's case is like this. And then judge would say, but didn't that person blah blah blah? Like he kept everybody fair. He explained himself. He overly explains how he got to the sentence and why. So he was very, very fair. So it was very, so I don't believe it would be overturned. But basically you can appeal, he can appeal his sentencing and see with the federal court, if so many rules to the sentence. So you have the sentencing guideline, you have the leveling, you can downward deviate from the leveling. Then there's a part of the statute that says you have to consider everything that you heard about the character of the defendant and things that played into the charges, even if they were acquitted of other charges, you still have to consider the conduct if it can still prove the crime that they were convicted of. So it's a lot of little technicalities to a federal sentencing. So it could be overturned if the what is the Supreme Court feels like they overstepped and he didn't do some type of calculation right. But after sitting there listening all day, I don't know the ins and out of federal sentencing, but the judge over explained his decisions, his rationale. He gave case law to support everything he said. So I doubt the sentence would be overturned. Thanks, JC, for becoming a new member. Yes, for always and forever for life says he could have gotten way worse. He definitely could have. And I almost thought the judge was going there, y'all, because as he started to give this sentence, he kept saying how Diddy's crime deserved a substantial punishment, a substantial sentence. He said the word substantial sentence like 10 times before he gave it. So I almost was like, are you going higher than 5? Because I really thought 5 should have been the max and would be the max. But yeah, the judge was very, very fair. For always, forever, for life says this judge was very fair. I watched a lot of people try to say the judge was biased and didn't like Diddy, but I didn't see that. I didn't see that today either. Now he had a strong opinion about what he had a strong opinion about, and he did not like the violence. He did not like the coercion. He felt like Diddy definitely coerced the victims into the sex acts. He did not appreciate the Brian Steele reading the transcript of Cassie from the trial, trying to make it seem like she wanted it and she willingly participated. That did not go over well with him. But it didn't change the sentence because, trust, the judge came into the courtroom with his sentence ready. Why does it seem, Cedar Elm says, why does it seem so complicated, but somehow it seems like a regular person can get a more substantial sentence? It just depends on what you're comparing. So we're talking about federal court. So federal court has all of those rules and guidelines that you have to follow. So every federal sentencing goes through this. Like British from Love and Hip Hop LA, right? She got in trouble in federal court for doing PPP scams or whatever. So she had the same process. It just wasn't televised, but she went through the same thing. She had a conviction. She came home. Probation did a pre-sentencing report. They looked at everything about her character, everything about her life, and her sentencing was elevated because they found that she continued to do the crimes even after she had been arrested. Though that was something that elevated her sentencing. And then she came before the judge and she received her sentence. So everybody in federal court goes through the same type of sentencing. It's just not publicized like that because this is Diddy. Like all eyes were on this case, which is what Diddy was trying to tell the judge. Well, his attorneys were trying to say, look, he's been punished. Like a lot of people go through this privately, right? A lot of people are arrested. The only person that finds out is the person who bonded them out. Maybe the girlfriend, mama, baby mama, daddy, maybe close family, right? But sometimes they don't even tell their friends they got locked up. But in this case, Diddy, the whole world knows he's arrested. So they're like, he's been punished. Everybody knows that this happened. They've heard all the ins and outs, all the dirty things, the sex things. Like it's all out there, judge. He's been punished enough. Judge was like, nah, I need some time out that ass. You put your hands on folks, I need some time. That video, that Cassie beating in the hotel, the judge referenced that over and over. It was disturbing. It was disturbing. Yeah, Cedar Elm says the way the judge was talking, he thought the sentence would have been more. I did. Like, I thought maybe, is he gonna go higher than 5? Like, he definitely laid the government out for saying 11 years. He's like, that's just ridiculous. He said everything but the word ridiculous. He says the pre-sentencing report said 5 years. And yet you gave nothing more for me to consider. So like the aggravations that the government used to get to 11 years, they're the same aggravations that the pre-sentencing report used to get to 5. So he definitely let them know that 11 was ridiculous. So we knew it wasn't going to be that much. So I just thought maybe he was going to be definitely hitting 5, the way he kept saying substantial sentence, substantial sentence. All right, so let me go back to the beginning. All right, so come in the courtroom. First thing I notice is Janice blowing wig. Y'all know. I mean, it literally is the first thing I wrote on the paper. I don't know. I probably because I saw somebody talking about it. So anyway, it just stuck out. But everybody was dressed nice. I see white was the theme. Janice had on white. The twins had on white, sharp white suits with black lines down the side. Everybody was dressed nice. So the thing setup was that it was 3 rows of family. And so apparently, and y'all know how it is, right? You know how you go to a funeral, everybody be trying to jump in the family car, everybody want to sit up front with the family, right? You go to where everybody want to be at the family table. So it was too many people that wanted to be with the family. So it wasn't enough room for everyone because the whole point was the kids are going to sit on the same row. He wanted the kids on the first family row. So the problem is all the boys want to bring their girlfriends. Like, bruh, it's already 6 kids. We ain't got room for these chicks to be coming up in here. Like, who are they? What's going on? Like, the girlfriends, like, okay, whatever. So they were trying to make room for everybody. The deputies, and so I'm from the South, y'all. We got Southern hospitality all day long. Ain't none of that going on in New York. Okay. I was even told to leave mine at home in Atlanta. So the deputies were like fussing in New York accent, which sounds so funny to me, as they're trying to get everybody to move. So they're like, look, we're going to take people out the courtroom if you don't move. All of his kids are sitting down. Like they were, and everybody was sitting there like nobody wanted to move. It's like, get up. Nobody other family wanted to move, but clearly the kids need to sit down. So that was like a whole 5-minute ordeal was getting the kids seated. So all of the kids finally get seated and their girlfriend, with the guys' girlfriends, and then the girls. And then behind were the moms. So like Cheryl was sitting behind the twins. Misa came in and she was sitting on this end. I think Janice ended up being on the end of the kids' row. And then behind was like a host of other family and cousins. I guess I don't know them. And you could tell some of the men were like music exec people. That's the vibe they were giving. But I don't know. Look, I don't know who people were. So that's how they set up. And after those 3 rows, that's when they started the public rows. And so I was on that 3rd public row. The right side was all press on that side. And then they had I guess the press that can type and actually have their devices in. They were kind of in the jury box. The attorneys were deep, of course, because right, it's like the 6-pack. It's all the women on the government side, so they all stood up, and the victim advocate, all of their assistants and stuff. And then Diddy has his strong legal team, so it was deep. It was deep. The courtroom was definitely packed. They had a row actually behind me, so I was in the last row in a pew, and the row behind me were actually chairs set up. And Gina, the Asian ex-girlfriend, I don't know whatever she got classified as, but y'all know who I'm talking about. She was sitting behind me, and like some other guys that were, I don't know if they were related to him, but you could tell they were friends or family. They were sitting behind, and then a lot more family were in the overflow room. So they dedicated 3 rows for the family. That was it in the courtroom. Anybody else, they were in the overflow room. So that whole setup. So court was supposed to start at 10, but we really didn't start till like 10:30 because it was all this rigmarole with who's gonna sit where and moving. And then it was a thing of like who was gonna speak. So I guess at one point they were saying like all of the defense attorneys at one point just started buzzing around like something had happened. It was like, what's wrong? They were looking at the back of the courtroom, they were moving around, they were whispering, and I think it was like somebody was going to speak on behalf of Quincy, some girl. I don't know. They were trying to figure out who was going to speak or whatever. I was trying to like ear hustle, but it was something about the kids and who was going to speak. But it was just all of this buzzing as if something was wrong. But I guess they figured it out. So anyway, the judge came out. Don't know what time it is, okay, y'all, because Fit had on a Fitbit. I mean, a Samsung watch, a digital watch. So they took all electronics, cell phones, digital, my watch. So I didn't know what time anything was happening. So I'm gonna think it's probably like around 10:40-ish. The court starts, the judge comes in, and he comes out, everybody stands up and introduces themselves as far as who's the attorneys on each side. And then the judge is the first person that starts the day. So he spoke for a long time. And by the time he got through speaking, we really could have just went to the sentence, because you already, if you had, I don't even know, because I'm an attorney. So, right, I have legal sense. So I can't never take it off. So I don't know if, but I'm not going to say that, because I could tell those men that were on the back row of his family row that gave me the whole exec vibe, they had the same feeling at the same time I did, that it's about to be some time. They literally had that whole sit back, look at each other like, he about to go to jail. You could just tell. I'm telling you, the judge came in hot. You knew like it was about to go down. Let me back up a little bit. So before court started, I could tell that Brian Steele and Westmoreland were speaking, because they were kind of like huddled up. But I'm from Atlanta, so I've seen Brian Steele in court several times. So he was kind of doing his I could just tell he was kind of nervous or whatever. I could tell he had this little nervous rock, little side to side thing he was doing. And he was pacing a little bit, but like it's like pace in place kind of thing. So I could tell he was nervous. So I knew that he had a big speech to make. I could tell Miss Westmoreland had a big speech to make because of the way they were acting before court started. Okay, so then Diddy comes in, and he had gotten permission to dress out. So he comes in, tan sweater, white button down shirt. His hair is salt and pepper. So when I first saw him, I gasped. I ain't make no noise, because these deputies were like, not playing. Make a noise, make a peep, you getting gas. So just silently, I'm like, but it wasn't because he looked bad. He just looked older, right? Because we haven't seen him. We've been seeing drawings and sketches and pictures from when he first got locked up. But just from when he first got locked up to now, it's like I was looking at somebody that was coming in to play somebody's granddaddy on TV, because he had on like the brown sweater, the Huxtable sweater, the button down, and he got this gray hair. It just looked like he was playing a part of an older man. It just didn't look like him, because I haven't seen him look like this. So it was like a time warp, if that makes any sense. But he didn't look bad. Like he came in hopeful. I'll say that. Came in hopeful. He looked good, but he just looked older. Jay Witt podcast, shout out for the $5 super chat. Says we run into Utah for Tyler Robinson trial. See, I gotta get caught up. Oh, you got me going to Utah. You know, ain't no black folks in Utah, but the Jazz and the Army. I gotta look up that case. And see. Nene says the $5 super chat. Shout out, Nene. Thank you so much. Says he looks super old, more like 75 versus 55. Yeah. Like I say, he looked like he came in looking like he was about to play Bill Cosby on something. So it was shocking to see him look like this. But this is what jail and prison does to you. I had a client that I was representing one time, and my first time meeting him, he was like a month home from 16-year bid in prison, and he got rearrested. And he was 36 and he looked 70 something. Like I walked in, I was like, I'm like, you're da-da-da-da. And I'm looking at the age. I'm like, bro, he had all gray hair. I mean, his face just looked worn and old. I mean, it just wears you down. It wears you down. The mental, just what you're doing in prison, it's a hard life. So I was, but it still was shocking to see him like that. It still looked nice. And he came in hopeful. He left pissed off. Okay. You definitely tell he left pissed off. Like he wanted to kick all that shit off. That's the vibe I got when he left. I want to kick all this shit over. Fuck everything I didn't say. I don't want to kick all this shit over. He was mad. He was pissed. Yeah, then he says the stress of it all. Yep. Cedar Elm says he has been coloring his hair. Yeah, he definitely has. So you don't get no Beijing in custody. Although I expected it to be a lot more gray than it was. So I was surprised to see as much black in it. So I was almost like, did you get some Beijing? Did somebody sneak something into you? Did I didn't know they let him like dip it in real quick, because it wasn't as much salt and pepper. But it was, he didn't look bad. So like I say, he came in looking hopeful. So that was good to see. Oh, I told y'all we long stroking this thing tonight. Page 2. Let me see. Let's see where we at. Yeah, it was 10 people stood up. So they say who's representing Diddy's team? 10 people stood up. Wow, like 10 people. That was amazing to see. Like I got a whole force up in here trying to save my life. 10 people. All right, so okay, so the timeline of things. So the judge is out. So what he does first is start talking about what he has considered. And he starts talking about the pre-sentencing report. This is something no one has access to. It's a sealed document, and it was filed, I believe, August 28th. So what happened after he got convicted on July 2nd? The probation office starts this pre-sentence, they start this sentencing, what do I want to call it? Like investigation. So they look at your criminal history, they look and see like where you were working at, all this stuff you done. They basically do like a deep dive of you and put together a packet to make a recommendation to the court about where he should sentence you. So they give their recommendation to the court. So the government gives their recommendation, the defense gives their recommendation, and probation gives theirs in what's called a pre-sentencing report. So the judge talks about this. So he sits down, he says, I reviewed everything. I reviewed all hundreds of pages. The September 22nd submission from Diddy, the letter 924, the supplements, the video just filed yesterday, the letter from Steele. He's talking about everything that he's reviewed to get to this decision. He said, I've read everything. I greatly appreciated the letters and I've read them closely. I've reviewed the pre-sentencing report. It was issued on August 28th and then it was revised on September 18th because I guess once it came out, maybe a side or something had objections to it, or maybe they presented some other things to be added. But anyway, it was amended on September 18th. Also, and this is not filed online as of yet, so I can't see it, but there was a forfeiture that was consented to by Diddy. So the state or the government asked for some of his, I don't know, money or property to be forfeited from this case. I don't know what exactly, but they consented, meaning they worked out an agreement of what should be forfeited. And so that was also signed, and I think that was signed like today as well. He reviewed the course evaluation, meaning that MDC had just completed today an evaluation of the course that Diddy had implemented, the free game course, because that free game course was like, that was what he was going to use to get out of jail. So if you all remember the T.I. case in Atlanta, it was all about this community service and how T.I. could be a benefit and a use to the community more so than in jail. It was the same strategy here for Diddy. He's developed this free game course. He can teach this course to other inmates. He can make an impact. So let him out so that he can do this. That was the game plan. So the MDC evaluated the course and they gave a report to the court, and that came out today. So just I looked at all of that. And he also made a note that Mia no longer wanted to testify. This was a big deal, okay, because it was already a big deal that she wanted to testify at the hearing because she wasn't a named victim. If you all recall, there were two victims in this case, right? There was Jane and then Jane Doe, and then there was Cassie. And Mia was an employee of Diddy's, but she also testified to receiving the same type of violence and torture and all of this stuff, right? Well, the government filed a letter. Let me just make up a day, right? Wednesday. Okay, let's say Wednesday. As saying that she won't testify. Well, Diddy's team came back and wrote a letter that tore her apart. They call her a liar, said she got on the stand with a fake name, a fake voice, a fake story. The jury found her to be a liar, that they just lit into her in their letter. I believe it was written by Steele, but I'll pull it up. We'll talk about it. And the government responded and said that letter was, one, ridiculous because it wasn't fair, in that it was against court decorum. The judge did tell them today that he did not appreciate their tone in the letter and that he did not want to see it again. And basically, it scared her away to testify. So Mia did not testify today. She gave a letter to be read in the court, but she did not testify. And it was the government says that it was due in part to Diddy's letter, and they wanted that to be on the record, and they wanted the judge to take that into consideration as a part of this sentencing. Like, they were pissed about this, that Mia did not come in or show up. So, you know, they basically are trying to show, like, even after you're here at sentencing and you're still using your power to control the victims, because you knew that she would read that letter. I mean, the letter is filed on the federal website, right? So we can pull it off, we can all look at it. So the fact that they filed that letter, they knew that she would see it and it scared her off. Matter of fact, I'm gonna pull it up. I'm in the federal site now, so let me pull it up. I think this is it. I'm gonna sign back in. So it was when I read the letter, I was like, dang, I didn't call her out. And so it just, just showed it showed the court and the government, like, you're still using your power to mess with these victims. While I'm pulling that up. Yeah, the judge said the tone of the letter was inappropriate and it shouldn't happen again. All right, so then the defense, because the judge is kind of trying to see how long this is going to be, so they're asking, like, who's going to speak here, who's going to speak over here. So that's what he did. He asked the government, do you all have anybody to speak? And they said, well, judge, we did, but they didn't scare her off. And then so basically just the prosecutor spoke on their side, and then the defense started talking about who they had to speak. And they said at first it was just going to be 2 or 3 of the children to speak, but they actually all spoke. They talked about the Reverend Gary Johnson, that's the guy from King Clergy, and they talked about Giovanni from the reentry program. And then I told you all that they had asked for 4 attorneys to speak. 4 attorneys did speak, and then Agnifilo spoke at the end. So it actually ended up being 5. So that made it a very long day. And Diddy was the last person to speak. Last, meaning after the defense rested, the government came back and did a rebuttal, and then we took a break, and then Diddy spoke. So he literally had the last word, which was, I mean, it's just, he had the last word. So he had the last thing to say to the judge for him to make his decision. So it was interesting to see. Let's see. Now, they also said that the doctor, so they had Diddy evaluated, psychologists evaluated him. They had those doctors in the building, but they weren't in the courtroom, but the judge wanted to hear from them. And then the government jumps up like, hold on now. Rule 32 kind of prohibits, it provides limitations for who all can speak. So we don't think they should be letting all these people speak. And then the judge like, but wait a minute, don't I have discretion? Can I make the decision? I control that, right? Okay. So if I'm telling y'all, like, the judge didn't play the radio with nobody. Like, he kept the government in check. He kept the defense team in check. He really kept everybody, everybody in check. Like, this is my courtroom. You gonna tell me what to do? Like, he held everybody to the law. So he was really fair. So the government, they're still going through their presentation. Let me see. Oh, this is when they're arguing about who should be able to speak and who should be able to be kept out. And they're basically like, so funny that the defense objects to Mia speaking, but yet they want to bring all these other people up to speak on their part. So, they were really pissed that Mia didn't show up. So you could tell they whined about that for a few minutes this morning with the court. So the judge allowed this morning. He was like, the children can speak. I'll make my decision as I go along with the pastor and stuff. But he let everybody talk. And I guess he just kind of was like, at this point, let's go ahead and let everybody say what they're gonna say, because I know what I'm gonna do. Let me give you all a chance to get it out. That's the vibe I got. For Always Forever for Life says keeping control of his courtroom as he should. Yeah, he did. Yeah. Sater M says throughout this trial, the judge has been on top and just spectacular. Yeah, that's what I got today. So I didn't watch every this is my first time being in the courtroom, but I could tell, like, he has been keeping it straight. My dude, how you doing? She says, good evening, chat and fit ATL. I was waiting for you to come. I'm glad to see you. Miss you all. Yes, my dude. She has a channel on TikTok, so y'all go check her out. Yes, good to see you. Wait a minute. The big way. Oh, okay. Michelle says the big black hole in protecting whitenesses witnesses. I guess there's nothing in place to keep the defendant's friends from harassing, threatening the witnesses. I had to move twice, change my number so I didn't testify, not say. Yeah, and that can be it too. And that's that's why the government was so upset about the comments that they made in that letter, because they knew that it would discourage well, the government believes that Diddy's team knew that it would discourage her from testifying. I'm gonna see if I can pull that up so that I could just share with you all like what they were saying about her. It was kind of mean. But I didn't see the trial. So like, was she discredited at the trial? Was her testimony this? I don't know. Maybe it was fair. Maybe they were calling it like it is to how they feel. And it was a lot of that going on today, like, different of opinions on what came out in court with testimony. But I will say, I feel like the defense did a little too much sometimes on still trying to like, they came in still trying to argue that Cassie's not a victim. It's like, bro, look here, we're here for sentencing. Okay, fall on the sword, admit to everything. I forgot I had that letter printed out. Fall on the sword, admit to everything, and just let's stay focused and show me mitigation. But you still coming in here saying what it is and what it ain't and all that kind of stuff. So, here's the letter. All right, so the government wrote this letter. I mean, the defense wrote this letter on October 1st, and it was actually written by Agnifilo. And he says, we write in opposition to the government's September 30th, 2025 letter motion requesting that a person with a false name, Mia, speak at Mr. Combs' sentencing for charges of which she is not a statutory victim. So the law has this case law, statutory. Whenever you hear the word statutory, it means what the case law or what the law says defines as something. So they're saying the law defines what a victim is, and she doesn't fall in it. They're saying like she wasn't victim 1 or 2, she wasn't Cassie or Jane, so she's not in this case. She wasn't ever a part of prostitution, sex trafficking, so she's not a part of it. So she shouldn't be allowed to speak. And so they go on to say, over defense objection, Mia was permitted to come into a courtroom, assume a fake identity, complete with a made-up voice and demeanor, and lie about a defendant in a criminal case, all behind the shroud of anonymity. That's harsh. That's harsh. They say she lied that she had sexual contact with Sean Combs without her consent. She lied that she was a victim. Virtually everything that came out of her mouth was a lie. Oh, if I had my buzzer, damn, like they was hitting it. So that's first paragraph. So they go on to say, simply, she is not a victim of anything. She had adult consensual sexual contact with Sean Combs on a handful of occasions, and as her many writings show, held him in the highest regard for years afterwards. So they just kept tearing her apart. So the judge was not pleased with the tone in this letter. And after the letter came out, she bagged out and didn't want to come to court to testify. So that did not bode well with the government or the judge today. So I just wanted to share that little bit with you all. So let me see. Okay, so then now the judge starts going through this pre-sentencing report. And once again, we won't ever get a copy of it. That's stuff that's filed under seal. So he says there were a number of objections to the pre-sentencing report. So basically, he just goes over this report and speaks about the issues that each side had with things in the report. And then he speaks as to how he's going to consider those things in the report. And at the end of this whole analysis, he gives us the leveling. And at that moment, that's when I knew it was a wrap. Well, actually, a little bit before, and I actually wrote it on my paper. Okay. So he talks about the first thing that he talks about in this pre-sentencing report, and something that greatly increased the leveling, was the acquitted conduct. So being able to, that's the paper. Okay, so being able to consider acquitted conduct. So, he was charged with RICO, he was charged with sex trafficking, he was acquitted of it. However, in trying to prove those things, testimony came out from certain witnesses that he did things, beat them, coerce them, force them, threaten them to participate in acts, like bad things came out. So even though you weren't found guilty of these things, the judge says that the federal sentencing guidelines requires him to consider relevant conduct. And so as long as it's relevant to, as long as it's also still relevant in whole or in part to the things that you were convicted of. So, because the transport crossed state lines, the beating of Cassie on the video, the forcing them, drugging them, while some of that stuff was related to the RICO and sex trafficking, it's also related to the prostitution the Mann Act that you were convicted of. And therefore, I find it relevant through by preponderance of the evidence. So I'm going to consider it. So the fact that he considered those things, that made Diddy's leveling go up. So when I heard that, I was like, okay, we creeping up there. Now I know we're not at 14 anymore, but I'm not sure how many points that did it, but I just know we're stepping up a little bit. So when you step up the guidelines, the higher the number, the higher the range of time. So you got to think about it, right? If you get leveled, Diddy ended up being level 27. His attorneys wanted a level 14. Okay, you see how big a gap that is? There's no way the judge can get you to out the door at a level 27. So as he's going through this pre-sentencing report and he's talking about what he's going to consider, this dog on the phone. I'm sorry, y'all, this gimbal. What he's going to consider and what he is going to the things that he's going to consider that's going to increase the level. I know in my mind as an attorney, we're inching on up that line. So that is what the feeling I was getting as I was listening to this part. And this is the first part of the presentation. So he came in the room, everybody introduced themselves, they said who's going to speak. The government got to talk their little shit about Mia, and then the judge went right into it. So if we're talking about maybe 15 minutes into the hearing, the judge is going through this pre-sentencing report telling us the things that are aggravating his sentencing level. So it got grim early. Y'all, I have no clue. So why this gimbal is losing his mind over here. So bear with me. Okay. Oh, now it's just like cut all the way off. Okay. So, y'all, I'm so sorry. Y'all know if I was at home, we don't have these problems. I don't do this unprofessional shit. All right. So we struggle streaming, but forgive me. We in the hotel room in New York, so we're gonna make it work. Cause I'm over here like, get it together. All right. Let's see. What did he hit on next? Oh, okay. Another thing the judge talked about is that the sentencing guidelines require him to look at the whole character of the person. I spoke about that, right? And so he's like, this acquitted conduct may be considered. And so it basically increased 11. So after that now there was a criminal sexual abuse guideline, something they were asking to be added about Cassie being a vulnerable victim. He didn't add that leveling. Or did he? Let me see. Very little. Or did he? He might have added that one. I'll take that back. I'm sorry. I'm looking at my notes. So he was talking about that the court just really didn't have a lot of guidance on what constituted fear of bodily harm to know if basically he would consider that vulnerable victim part. But some of these things he said that, and this is another reason that he already had his decision made, because he would say, well, I don't really know on this one. While I'm not going to add it, it didn't change the sentencing. Or while I am going to add it, it didn't change the sentence. And how could you know something didn't change it unless you already got the sentence? And this literally was 10:45, 11 o'clock. Okay, so this is another thing that he added that increased. So he found that Diddy acted with coercion and force towards the victims. And so that was another increase in the leveling. He said Diddy made threats to release sex tapes in order to force them into doing freak offs. So while it all the force might not have been physical, while some of it was because we saw the tape. Because he said basically the hotel, you basically had an escort inside the hotel waiting to have sex with Cassie while you were dragging her down the hallway, beating her. So that goes into that whole force of coercion. So he added a leveling for that. So once again, in my head, I'm like, we're getting further and further from this level 14 that was going to get you straight probation. So I'm kind of feeling like, I don't know. The judge also said Cassie and Jane testified credibly during the trial. When he said this, mind you, I'm on third and fourth page, so this is early in the morning. So he said that they were credible. That means he took everything that Cassie said about Diddy and everything Jane said about Diddy, and in his mind, those were things that he used to come up with his sentence and how he was going to punish him. He considered all of that. Let's see. Cedar M says, I'm gonna read some of these comments. I want to know if it just went from year 2 and kept going up and then got to 4 years. Well, it's not that simple. So it really just needs, right. Somebody said, Nene said the judge needs counseling now. Right. It's Cedar is really more so getting it's just so it's just a lot to it. So it's not that simple. And so basically you get the sentencing guidelines and you get the leveling. And so he ended up leveling him level 27, which was 60 to 72 months. And I'm gonna get to that point. So I'm gonna come back to your question. Let me go through and I want to build up to that and answer that. So go back to, he says Cassie and Jane testified credibly during trial. So he's taking everything they said, he's using it. So he said, I have to consider, is this evidence enough to show the force and coercion? Basically, he said it was. So that was another increase. Now the obstruction. So the government wanted him to add extra leveling for Diddy obstructing justice by the legal pad situation. Y'all remember that when he had been locked up maybe like a month or so, a couple of months, and they were going to court for hearings, and there was this whole thing about Diddy having legal pads in the room that had legal on it, but it didn't have legal stuff in it, and he was trying to hide stuff, and maybe that he was still threatening victims and witnesses and all of that stuff. So they were trying to use that to add another level. The judge to say, you know what, you all didn't make enough of a record to do that. So you had the opportunity to go further in the investigation. You had an opportunity to have a hearing to determine what actually happened with the notepads. He said it could have been Diddy's attorneys could have done this. We don't know. So I'm not going to find by preponderance that there's enough evidence there for me to give him this level. So that he didn't increase it for the obstruction. He says basically a full record was never made. Now, oh yeah, the vulnerable victim. What did he say on this one? The judge overruled the request. That's right. He did not consider the vulnerable victim, and it was due to the age. And I guess because Cassie was 19 when she first started dealing with him, but they didn't consider, he didn't consider that. However, he said I would still reach the same sentence if it was applied or not. Once again, just like 11:30. This man already knew what he was coming here to do. Let me see. Where do we go next? Okay. Now, the Diddy objected to Cassie and Jane being victims. The judge, he didn't spend too much time on that. He said, I overruled that. And so that's the type of thing, like we're here at sentencing and you're still objecting to the people that like you got convicted of. You're still trying to say, no, judge, they're not victims. Don't consider them victims. I didn't think that was a good play because you can't then in the next breath say you're remorseful if you're still telling me just a minute ago not to consider them victim, and I say no. All right, then shit. Fuck, I'm sorry. Okay, judge, I'm sorry. I ain't got nothing. I got a couple kids. Like it was just like you flipping on me. Like either you're remorseful 100% or you're not. And so that's what the government kept kind of playing on. They were just like, no, I mean, you're still fighting against basically last week at the hearing, you were saying what you did wasn't prostitution and trying to change the definition of prostitution that you asked us to apply at trial. Now you want to come back and say, judge, I was wrong. Let me change it. Prostitution really is this, and I didn't do it. And then you are coming here today saying, judge, don't find Cassie to be a victim. He's like, wait a minute now. Are you going to take responsibility or not? And so that's why he denied Diddy's request for a downward deviation for that remorsefulness, because he's like, you haven't shown it. And Diddy's attorneys argue that, he had to go to trial, judge. He never got an offer to take a plea on the Mann Act, and they're correct on that. They're absolutely correct on that. However, it's one thing to go to trial, because you can go to trial and still accept responsibility for what you did. Tell you how. The case I had with DA Love, who was on a YSL trial, it was a rape case, but my client was also charged with simple battery. That we did. We pushed the victim down in the bathroom and she fell into the tub when they were having an argument. Rape never had anything to do with it. That wasn't involved in it. So this is not, the victim is telling the court it's not involved in it. Everybody's speaking that that's not what it is. And so in my closing, I tell the jury, we submit to you. We are guilty of simple battery. Convict us of that. But we are not guilty of everything else. So you absolutely can go to trial and accept responsibility for things that you want to accept responsibility for, and then deny the things that you don't. So it came a time where he could have accepted responsibility prior to this moment, is what I gathered from the courts, saying I don't see remorse, because the judge had said that over and over again, like the bond hearings and the times he was denying bond, he had made that comment several times. So that was a big deal there. And then now this is the moment I knew that Diddy was going to go to jail, was when the judge said, so he's not going to give Diddy the downward deviation, right? We got past that part. Then he says, I'm going to count the escorts as victims. When he said that, because I knew how many points that was going to add, I said, oh shit, because doing that, I think that raised it like 8 points, 6 to 8 points. So I knew that now we were at jail time, significant jail time. Because now I know you're leveling. If you started at 14, he's increased it 2 points for your coercion, and another 2 points for this. So now we'll be at 18, and then he bam hits you with the big jump to 24. I sat back in my seat and was like, he going to jail. There's no way he can get around it. So I kind of knew at that point. And I'm sure his attorneys knew as well that it was looking like it might be some jail time. Because the judge said the escorts were transported as well to participate in sex for money. So you transported them to basically participate in prostitution. So they're victims as well as Cassie and Jane. So instead of 2 victims, you got 8, and that increased his level, and that kind of pretty much took it up. There was also a coercion enhancement that was applied, and I didn't even, because I hadn't read the government's recent one. I don't believe the coercion enhancement was in the original one right after trial, but they added that. So that was another couple points. At this time, Brian still whispers something to Diddy. He's whispering him the really whole time. And I'll say this, that I did notice that if I felt like there was a connection between Diddy and any of his attorneys, him and Brian seemed like this. They seemed like they really vibed. He seemed like he really trusts him. As soon as he came into the courtroom, he hugged everybody, but when he seen Brian, it was like, man, it was just like a different type of embrace. So I could tell they connected. Brian sat next to him pretty much the entire time. If it flipped, it was Westmoreland in the middle, but they whispered together the whole time. It just seemed like Diddy leaned to him. He trusted him. That was like the person that was that was in Diddy's ear the entire time was Brian Steele. You could tell they really, really made a connection on this case. Okay. Oh, okay. Yep. So that's that. So basically the judge ends all of this talking about that the pre-sentence report supports the enhancements, and he is adopting that. He talked about how the scheme is excessive, and basically the scheme being, set up the hotel nights, the freak offs. The judge just found like all of that shit was too much for him. He was like, that was massive, excessive. He just was like, I ain't never seen no shit like this. Like, this was wild to the judge. You could tell that he considered just this everything too much. He said basically they added an enhancement for this coercion because Diddy and at least 3 others helped do the freak offs in the hotel stays. Or what did they call them with Jane? So they were freak offs with Cassie, and they were hotel nights with Jane. And so he said Diddy, KK, and 2 other people. I didn't get the other 2 names. That those people helped organize the freak offs and organize the hotel nights and organize transportation. So that qualified for that coercion enhancement to be added because it was Diddy plus 3 others that worked together to commit this man act. So they were just adding shit to it really was stacking up, stacking up. I was like, man. All right, so the restitution, he said that was moot. I mean, Cassie got $20 million in lawsuit. She ain't getting no more money. Um, Diddy objected to Cassie's statement because it was not included in the PSR. So her most recent statement wasn't included in that pre-sentencing report. So Diddy didn't want it included in what the judge was considering. But once again, it's like you're once again still trying to discredit the victims and control and keep out, and instead of just letting the shit come in and just do your part. We already know what they're going to say. They already testified and he already said he found them credible. So to see you still fighting for that kind of thing is like, come on, we're past that point. Did he ask for I told you all he asked for the whole remorse deviation down, and the judge said no because he didn't see any remorse from him. And just because you're saying sorry now that we're at the point that you're about to get sentenced, that's not enough, because every time that you had the chance to come into court, you fought against the factual allegations. You said you didn't do this. You made this whole the judge referenced the Instagram video. You made this video and you apologized and you said you were sorry and all of that stuff, and then you kept doing it. That was another big point. Your house got raided. You hired New York defense attorneys in federal court. You're spending millions of dollars defending and preparing to defend a case, and your ass still having freak offs and hotel nights. Like, ain't no remorse. No remorse. You get in trouble, your house gets raided, and you immediately stop. Then I can see remorse. And I tell my clients that all the time. They're like, man, they keep on holding my past against me. They keep on. I'm like, bruh, it can't be your past until you stop. So like, you just did that shit last week. Like, you can't move beyond something until you stop. Diddy never stopped. The judge, when he sentenced him at the end, he's like, you only stopped because you got caught. So that was something that was counted against him. Okay, so that was that. Then they talk about the forfeiture that Diddy consented to. Garrigo says he went over the order and Diddy signed it. And this was the forfeiture. Let's see what's next. Oh, and okay, so then judge said I'm trying to think because I wrote something. Oh, the levels. Has he announced the leveling yet? I'm trying to, because it's on the page right here, y'all. This is like my 5th page of notes, and I put Diddy going to prison. Because I'm telling you, this is what the vibe was and what I was getting from the judge going through this pre-sentencing report. Oh, okay. So the judge has said he's adopting the pre-sentencing report. That's what it was. He said he's adopting that. And then the attorneys jump up and start making their last little objections over the pre-sentencing report. The defense is arguing once again that if the acquittal conduct stays in the pre-sentencing report, that it'll hurt Combs if he gets jail time. Because, and I didn't know this until, I hear this said in court now, but in state court, like, let's say your indictment says, I'm trying to think. Okay, let's say you're arrested and charged of armed robbery. And you go through your case and you're charged with armed robbery, aggravated assault, And let's say it gets reduced down and the DA amends it and you plead to robbery, but your indictment is sent to the prison. They are going to review your entire indictment. And while you pled to a lesser included offense, they're still going to see what you were charged with. And so when it comes to a range of how much time of your sentence you're going to have to do, if there are allegations in your indictment that allow it to be aggravated, even though you didn't plead to that charge, we're gonna put you at the high end of the sentencing range. So that basically is what happened in this case. The judge basically said, sorry, y'all, the gimbal is tripping. So the judge basically said that, what his attorneys were arguing, trying to keep it out, because they're like, if he got to go down the road, he wasn't convicted of this stuff. We don't want this applied to him because that's going to, determine how much time he's going to have to spend in, what programs he can do when he can get out. And the judge was basically like, yeah, we can address that later if it's an issue, but it never came back up again. They didn't address it later. And that is when I wrote Diddy going to prison, because I knew when the judge counted up all the aggravations, I didn't know what exact number we were at, but I knew that we were over like 22, 24, and you're not getting a level 24 is not getting you to probation out the door. You might do some time. So they had, if I could have got to my phone, literally, we took a break at like 11 or something like that. We took a break, I think 11:15 or something. I want to ask the deputy for my phone. It's like I could get my phone and call somebody and tell them, did he go into prison? I could have put that news out to y'all at 11:30 because it was just evident. So the judge ended that conversation about the whole pre-sentencing report, and he says, I'm adopting it, and I am leveling Diddy at a 27. Oh my God. When he said 27, my heart dropped. I was like, he's definitely going to prison. And he said level 27, the range was 70 to 87 months. Now, that is just where he was starting. So he leveled him at a 27. That range was 70 to 87 months. So I had already heard the page before I wrote prison. When I heard that, I'm like, he's definitely going to prison. And we took a break. And I was like, not good. And like anybody that kind of was in there objectively listening, probably they kind of had that look like, oh, definitely he not going home today. But if you were in there just like, man, this some BS, did he come home? You might have missed it. Or if like you were a family member, because you're gonna hold out all hope, and that's what you should do, because it is up. At the end of the day, God has the final say. You never know what can happen. I literally was in court in Fulton County this past Wednesday. I had a motion argument, but most times you go to court, there's other stuff on the calendar. So there was a plea. There was a young man there who had shot multiple people. He had would come to find out he was having like a mental episode and went on this. He thought people were chasing him or whatever. And he just went on this pow, pow, pow spree and hit like 3 people, random people he didn't know. The state was asking originally for 35 years in prison. And the defense attorney said, Judge, I'm asking for probation. And judge, there ain't no way in. She wanted to say hell, but she said, is there a way I'm giving your client probation off of what I heard? And when I tell you at the end of the presentation from the defense attorney, that child walked out of there with probation. And also the victim's family testified that they didn't want him to go to prison because he had a mental health issue. He was back on track, getting it straight. And so the judge said, I can't believe I'm saying this because I have never in my life heard a victim's family ask for this, but I am going to give him a second chance. And she gave him probation. So you really never know where it can go. But in this case, I just knew that you're going to have to take a hard leap to get from 70 months to home today. Okay. So I was pretty confident at that point that he was going to prison. All right. So the judge at the end of this, he says, you repeated the crimes over the course of 15 years. There's abuse, exploitation. The law requires the court to consider all of this. So the judge is saying this is like 11:30. And so he's over and over again explaining why he has to consider all of the evidence. So that's just, just been a defense attorney for 20 years. The writing was kind of on the wall there. And he just used every opportunity he could to explain why the end result was going to be the end result. Cedar M says, Fit, you are so intelligent and articulate. Oh, thank you so much. I appreciate that. I don't know it all, but I do appreciate that. Cedar says, Fit, how you do this job. I'm amazed by the work you do. I'm walking in my purpose. Okay. I've been wanting to be an attorney since I was 4 years old. I really feel like that's what God put me here to do. So You gotta ask him. Cause I don't know how. Cause sometimes y'all get on my nerves. Sometimes it's a lot. But I love it. So yeah, Cedar says the judge was very thorough. Wendy says, thank you for this breakdown. Thank you for being here, Wendy. Days of Our Lives says, I just think this judge is smart. He knew, yeah, he knew. The judge was really, he just, like I said, he broke it down and was explaining the entire way. You know, why the end result was going to be the end result. Days of Our Lives. So it seems the judge did this. Save your smart, the options, avail yourself of all the programs. Yeah, he can. Yeah, he can do that when he gets in there. But yeah, it definitely was evident that the judge was basically, you know, just walking us down the line of like, this is how we got to where we're going to be. He said real victims suffered real harm, and because of the defendants, they questioned their self-worth. He said, oh, I'm sorry. This we off the judge. Okay, let me bad back so we can get some context. Okay, so after the whole leveling part, then the government went to their part. So let me draw a line there. So the judge says, I'm adopting the pre-sentencing report. I'm leveling Diddy to 27. It's a range of 70 to 87 months, and the fine range is 25,000 to 250,000. That's what he says, and he stops. Now the government goes. Miss Slavic is her name. Yeah, she spoke the entire time for the government. So she starts and saying Diddy, repeated his crimes over the course of 15 years. He basically wielded abuse, exploitation. The law requires the court to consider all this evidence. It's clear that this isn't just a case about freak offs or hotel nights. The government says there were real victims that suffered real harm, and because of the defendants, they questioned their self-worth. She said his currency was control. That was powerful. Like that really was. It kind of really was like a theme of like a closing argument or open argument of the case. His currency was control. Um, and she said, the government were asking for 135 months incarceration. We looked at other cases that reflect the conduct, and we respect the jury verdict. They believe that the probation sentencing report does not account for the separate harm to Cassie and Jane. So basically, the government was saying the pre-sentencing report lumped them. They basically looked at it as one victim. And so they just saying like this 5 years only accounts for the harm and pain he caused one victim, and that it needs to be basically double because there were two victims in this case. So that is why that's why they were asking for the 135 months, is because they didn't feel like the pre-sentencing report. Not saying the pre-sentencing report didn't take all the aggravation, because y'all heard the judge went through everything in there. They're just saying that we feel like it only accounted for one victim. Is two, so double it up, judge. We want 135 months. That really was all they had to justify going up to 135. They said the defense has tried to turn this into a technical violation of prostitution. And it's not. Just because he's transporting, yeah. But they say that Diddy didn't only transport for prostitution, he also did violence. So the whole technical thing was basically what the defense did last week at the hearing when Diddy filed a motion for new trial, a motion for acquittal. He was asking the judge to overturn his conviction because of the definition of prostitution. Diddy was trying to say that I didn't participate in prostitution because I never made money from the sex act, like the freak offs. I never participated in the freak offs. I simply transported people to participate in sex that I watched. And so basically, I was watching live porn or watching like a OnlyFans. Basically, I just basically put the people together to have sex so that I could watch and enjoy, but I didn't participate. So therefore, I didn't participate in prostitution. And so basically that's what the government meant by Diddy's trying to make this like a technical violation. Like, bro, this ain't about the prostitution. It's about your violence to force people to have sex, period. And that is not just something technical. And so the judge shouldn't just look at it like that. He should actually consider it for what it was. They also say he admitted to it at trial, and to allow him to get away with it without being punished would be unjust. They said that the judge, in setting his sentence, needed to set a deterrence. He needs to basically set Diddy some time to deter other people from committing these same acts, and to stop him from doing it again. And I will tell you all, because we are not going to make it through all of this tonight. Because I'm long stroking this. It's 11:22. I ain't nowhere near finished. But the judge said at the end that the fact that he didn't think that Diddy would not do this again. He said that he felt like if Diddy got out today, he'd do it again. That's telling, like, after all the mitigation that they presented, he basically was like, I don't feel like you learned your lesson. Like, I don't feel like you would stop. And because after you were getting investigated, you continued. I was like, dang, that was like, oh, yeah, that was good. That was good. I was like, wow, that's telling. So the judge, like in the first, like in the first hour, we know that one, you find Jane and Cassie credible, and you feel like Diddy has done this massive and horrible thing. Like, it was just like, man. So he basically admitted to these things at trial. Yeah, I mean, because they basically, you didn't testify against them. You let what came out stand. Whew, it was like, man, this is not going to be good. The government says his respect for the law is just lip service. They basically were just like, all of this stuff you talk about, these letters that they judge, is BS. He's not remorseful. Don't buy it. And I mean, if you believe that Diddy's a narcissist, then you agree with the government. I don't know. I ain't no psychologist. I'm gonna stay in my lane. But if you believe that he is, then you believe also that everything today was performative, and had he got out, he'd be right back to it. So I don't know. I don't know if they're right or not. I'm not here to decide that one. I am just here to report what occurred today in the courtroom. All right. So the government says he's facing 20 years. Diddy has, and then they went in on the speaking engagements. I said last night on my show, I can't believe, like, that was a stretch. Like, what I feel like you could have just said, if released, this agency is prepared to bring him in to do the classes. But mine, to literally have a schedule set that your first class is next Tuesday at 7, and then Wednesday at 8, and then Thursday, like, okay, so the government used that, and they were like, Judge, he's facing 20 years, and he's already booked speaking engagements for next Tuesday. He already like, this some whatever. This is a joke. I'm gonna be home next week. That's how they try to play it. Now the judge came back later and said he did not look at it that way. He looked at it as what the defense was trying to do, trying to show that, Judge, if you let him out, he's not just going to be out here running around throwing parties. He's going to be giving back to the community from day one. That's how the judge received it. But the government went in a different way with it. They were like, nah, he's demonstrating his disrespect for the law. He already set up shit to do next week. A speaking engagement, Judge. He's doing speaking engagements next week. Like, they really honed on. And that's what you do. Anything that the defendant gives you that you can use to make them look bad, or show the opposite, like show non-remorse or disrespect, you highlight it. So, I mean, that's just what you do. So that's what they did. They said that the scope of the conduct is not incidental, casual, or lapse of judgment. From 2009 to 2024, freak-offs and hotel nights occurred on a weekly basis. He transported many individuals to participate. That's a lot of travel, a lot of freak-offs. Diddy knew this was illegal. They said he would do things like ask the escorts, like, are you a cop? Are you undercover? And you're only asking that because you know that what you're doing is illegal, yet you continue to do it for 15 years. They said that he knew he was engaged over and over in illegal conduct, and however, he just kept going. They say he just kept going, and And the judge, when he sentenced him, said basically you kept going until you got caught. Like the only reason you stopped is because we arrested you. Like not we, but the government arrested you. That's the only reason you stopped. The government says the violence context of that the violence occurred within the context of long-term relationships, and it was, mental anguish against them. So it's not like you went out and got um sometimes some prostitutes can be like unrelated to you. Like they're not your girlfriend, right? They're just some girls you don't care nothing about. They just on the street. They just whatever. No, these were people that you were actually in a relationship with that you basically was smutting them out. Like, and they said that Cassie was overdosing during one of the freak offs. Diddy didn't stop. Jane begged for a condom during one of the hotel nights before she had to have sex with one of the prostitutes, and he wouldn't allow her to get that. Cassie being beaten at the hotel in the hallway while the escort was inside, waiting on her to come back to the freak off. Like those things they talked about. And then they go into like other defendants that were convicted of the Mann Act and talks about this whole mathematical equation of how you come up with the sentence. And they say that Diddy is most like other cases where there's violence, physical and emotional abuse. And they basically were just trying to show the court why they should give Diddy this 135 months. So they brought up this case called Dylan Jordan. It's a case 21 Crim 423. So it's a 2021 federal case. This case was a Mann Act conspiracy case. In that case, whoever, what's this guy's name again? Dylan Jordan participated in a 7-year international prostitution ring. And then they were like, he was only 7 years, Judge. Diddy was going for 15 years. Let me see. He love bombed the victims and gave them drugs to be involved with other men. He was in a relationship with one of the victims who was similar, who he treated similarly to that Diddy did to Cassie and Jane. Jordan told the victim to keep basically he forced them to do things that they didn't want to do. They said they didn't want to do it, and they would only do things to please him. And that he was sentenced to 21 to 27 months. Duration of conduct was taken into consideration, the exploitation nature of his conduct, and the harm to the victim. So they're saying that this person did this for 7 years and got 21 to 27 months, that you should double, go higher. I don't know how they were trying to get to 135, but they were trying with Diddy, that you should do more because he did more damage physically and stuff to them. That's how they were trying to separate. So they spent a lot of time trying to justify this 135 months that they never really got to. So they pull up this Jordan Dillon case, but then the judge comes back and was like, well, wasn't there something else in this case that was like aggravating, that's not in Diddy case? So like every time they were trying to pull a case, the judge was keeping them fair. So they were saying in this case, the judge went above guidelines. Oh, I'm sorry. So they were saying this Jordan Dillon, his sentencing guidelines put him between 21 to 27 months. But actually, the judge in that case went higher and gave him the statutory max of 5 years and said that he would have given him more. But then Judge Submaranian, who keeps it fair, says, wait a minute, but didn't that dude spend 8 years in the jail in Cuba because he had already committed the crime there first? And they're like, oh, yeah, that's right, Judge. Motherfucker, start there. Start there. You're trying to compare Jordan Dillon to Diddy, but Jordan Dillon did 8 years in Cuba for the same shit before he came to the U.S. and committed the shit again. Like, come on now. Like, that's what you have to appreciate about the judge. He was keeping them fair. So while they tried to bring in this case and act like it was like Diddy, judge was like, no, no, that's not. So I wrote my note. I said, judge keeps them fair. He keeps them fair. So that was cool. Then they went on to this other case that I couldn't understand the last name. I think it was like some type of Asian last name, but I couldn't catch it. But anyway, they were trying to say that when that case, the guy did similar things. It was no violence, and he got 70 months. So they just spent a lot of time trying to bring up other Mann Act cases to justify how they're comparable to Diddy case and why he should get this significant time. and why he should get this 135 months, which had me worried, right? Not when they're presenting, but when they kept saying significant and substantial time. And then you got the judge coming at the end saying this case deserves substantial time. I'm like, what do you mean, Judge? What's your definition of substantial? Because they over here talking about 11 years. But like I say, he almost laughed him out of court on the 135 months. It was ridiculous. Let me see what else they were saying. They were saying that there was a lot of harm to the victims in this case. This is still the government's presentation. Violence in this case was uncontested, meaning that there was nothing at trial that tried to argue that this violence didn't occur. I mean, clearly it was on tape as well. The abuse of Cassie, they talked about that she was hit, she was kicked, she was stomped, her face grabbed by her hair. They mentioned the video, but y'all got to remember, like, it was way more testimony came out of trial than just the video. If you heard her lawsuit read, there were instances like she got beaten one time and she went to her parents' house to get away, and her mom took pictures of the bruises, but she went back. So there were other instances. So don't think that Diddy is going to prison for 4 years just off a hotel video. There were several other incidences of violence recounted at the trial that the judge is holding against him. So it's not just, the video. So it's more than that came out. But they're referencing that so the Jane's case, it was an allegation that he came in her house, kicked down 4 doors to get to her. I guess it was like chasing her through the house or something, grabbed her hair, slammed her to the ground, choking her. So there's a lot of violence testimony that came out, blowing up Kid Cudi car, right? Forcing an employee over there with a gun so he could get into Kid Cudi's house so he could, so it was just a lot of stuff that came up. So the court hears all of this violence. And so the government is just reminding the judge, like, take all of this into consideration, which the judge ends up doing. All right, let's see what else. Yeah, I was in there writing so hard, y'all. My hands was locking up. Let's see what else. They said neither Cassie or Jane wanted to have sex with him while with strangers. They only wanted Diddy. And that I wrote that down because it was some guys that were sitting around me and they were like, whispering or talking in between the breaks, right? And they would make comments that, like Cassie wanted this, Cassie wanted this. And I'm like, as a man, your ego does not allow you to understand that women do a lot of things that we do not want to do just to please the man we're with. Out of here. I'm sorry, ladies, if you in the chat, can you please let these fellas know? Every day, women do things that we do not want to do to please the man in our lives, the man we want, the man we love. Whether it be sexually, the way we upkeep of ourselves, the way we may cook for you, do stuff around. I mean, like, women do a lot of things that we don't want to do. I said to say, sometimes we just don't feel like being bothered. If there were like no men in this world, women would walk around braless and so fucking unbothered. You wouldn't see a BBL in this mug. We wouldn't be putting on no lashes. Wouldn't nobody be getting no 30-inch bust downs. Like, we do a lot of things for men. There are a lot of times that women are in relationships that they have sex with men that they don't want to have sex with. Okay. You can be married to a man. I don't want to do it today. I might have a headache, but it's my husband. I love him. I want to please him. So I'm going to do this. How about anal sex? There are some women that will allow men to perform anal sex on them. They don't like it, but they do it because the man they love loves to do that. You see what I'm saying? So, like, trust and believe. There's a lot of times that women do things for men, but male ego just can't even understand that is why we're doing it. So you can't get it, but trust and believe. Cassie, Jane, Gina Poe self that was in the back of the courtroom day. A lot of these women participated in things they would not participate in because they loved him and they feared that he would leave them, turn against them, not want to be with them anymore. So that's why they did it. So it doesn't mean that they did it because they want to. So, like, I hope you all just understand that. Please accept that. That's a hard truth. JC says we do too now. Like, yeah, both sides, but we're not discrediting you all. But a lot of men, like Kathy wanted it. She participated. No, she wanted Diddy. She wanted to be loved by him. She wanted just to be him. But she knew that in order to make him happy, she had to participate in these type of things. And over time, it just became, this is what we do. It's easier for me just to go along than to fight. Yes, I'm gonna go set it up. I'm gonna do all this stuff. And maybe after being drugged for years and doing this, because mind you, it went on for 10 years. 10 years. 10 years. Maybe by year 6, I'm doped up, I'm drugged. Now I'm just going along with it. Hell, now I got Stockholm syndrome shit I want, and I'm participating, I'm setting it up. That does not mean I'm not a victim. My Duke says, yep, because when we meet them, we need a representative, and then 6 months in, phone cases of, yeah, we meet the real person, right? Like, it just happens. Men, you have to understand. So that's the part that men just don't get. But anyway, so that was a point that they made. They did these things because they wanted to be him. They even brought up how Diddy had an escort pee in Cassie's mouth. Get the fuck out of here. What female is like, pee in my mouth? No. No, no, no. Like, y'all, no. Some of this was just some sick shit. And the judge was just like, yo, I don't know about none of this. So that's how we got to 50 months, okay? They talked about how Cassie said that it's been 7 years and she still has nightmares, flashbacks, and she basically has PTSD from this. And like, they are real victims. So we may want to discredit, and you may have heard stuff on the street, other entertainers, people say stuff about it, whatever. They are victims. And that is how the court saw it. That's how the jury saw it. And that's how that 50 months is going to see it as well. Okay. They talked about how multiple witnesses testified, Mia testified. What else did they say? That she laid it on thick. The government, she laid it on. Like, after she got through, I mean, I wasn't at 11 years, but I was like, ugh. Like, she laid it on thick, because I mean, they have good things, right? He got some convictions and he got all his violence. And that's just really what they kept bringing up. They said that Diddy has claimed he has moved on and he's in full control of his actions, but his victims can't move on. They're still suffering. So, Judge, you need to sentence him with that in mind. They said that he has not fully adequately acknowledged his behavior. He blames everyone but himself. He acts as if it was rare, but Cassie spoke of a dozen times, because see, they want to keep focusing on the hotel, right? They're like, Judge, this hotel video in Diddy's statement, he says, like, my domestic violence. I will have to think about that hotel night, bruh. How about the hotel night? The time she ran to her mama's house, the time you beat her ass when y'all was at Bad Boy Records and they took her to an apartment to hide out for a few days so a black eye went away. The other time, you're speaking of one time, but you did several acts of violence against her. And that's what the government wanted to, that's their presentation. They're like, Judge, don't get caught up in this. Oh, I feel sorry about this video. Oh yeah, because that's the one we could see. And the government made a good point. They said, Judge, just imagine, like, he was in the hallway of a hotel. This is how he was acting when he didn't think anybody could see him. Don't pay attention to that video that they didn't put together of the family reel and when he putting on. No, his true character is how he behaved when he didn't realize he was being filmed. And I was like, oh, that was a good ass point. That was a good ass point. That was a good ass point. Good ass point. What else? They said he held all the power. I was talking about the photos of the injuries. They say his violence was committed against non-victims as well, meaning that he was violent more to just Cassie and Jane. He was violent to employees. He was violent to other people. Allegations allegedly, because like, look, I don't have it. Okay, Diddy broke, so he's gonna be trying to sue folks. I don't have it. I don't have it. But allegedly, he's violent to family members. I don't know if that's true or not, but I've heard some allegations. So basically, they're like his violence stretched beyond known victims. Um, oh, and then they said how Diddy acted like in his letter, and I read this on my live last night that he wrote. He acted like he says he just realized the harm he caused to Jane during the trial. And they're like, "Bruh, what? You chased her through the house and kicked doors down and beat her, and you just realized you harmed her." And maybe it's true, right? Because his defense side, they test when they talk about their part, they talk about how Diddy has been high every day since I believe it was 2008 when he had knee surgery until he got arrested and sobered up because he hasn't done any drugs since he's been in custody. But every day he was high, every day. So while, they're saying he didn't accept responsibility and he had all this, like it's an explanation to it as to why he was acting like this. They say, let me see what else. They say, oh, he denied guilt. Oh, they kept on saying that Diddy said he paid for time, not sex. Isn't that like an old school thing people used to say back in the day with the escort? I'm just paying for some time, just time, not sex. They're like, whatever. He asked that, okay, I said about part. Mm, they talked about the doctor's reports and how they were trying to minimize his behavior. I mentioned I haven't seen the doctor's reports. I didn't read them, but there was some mention that he suffered from PTSD, the trauma, like his dad was murdered when he was 3 years old. He has no memory of his father. He had an uncle that was murdered. He has friends that were murdered. I think one of his best friends died in his arms in LA when he was in his early 20s. He had some friends here. So they were just talking about like all this trauma. So the government is basically speaking like he's blaming all this other stuff as if that is the reason he did this. But these were his actions. He was in control of his actions. And like basically you shouldn't let all that other stuff mitigate. He needs to take responsibility for the abuse and exploitation that he put on Kathy and Jane. So they asked the court. I asked the court to send a message to these victims, all victims, that the public, let me say abuse with the nature, that any abuse will be punished, basically. So they were asking him to send a message, and that's when she says, Judge, we ask you to sentence him to at least 135 months. So Slavic was cool with him getting more than that. But like I say, they didn't even have real justification because all that she said they could consider was considered in the pre-sentencing report with 60 months. So I don't know. That was weird. So now we take a break. So this is when I made a note. I said some people, the record exec people, looking people that were on his side, family side, they had to look on their face like, it's going down. Cause like I'm telling you, after the government laid all that shit out, it was like that he is not going home. It was clear this is not a time served case. Like I'm just so surprised that everybody was thinking, oh, this gonna be time served because they focused on he just got convicted of the Mann Act. But the law says judge has to consider all of the character, background, everything of the defendant. And that's when Diddy was gonna be in trouble. It'd be different if this violence, all that stuff didn't come up, which I talk about in the chat. Yes, high every day for 25 years, for always, forever, for life. Yep, every day. Isn't that crazy? That was sad to hear them say that. I'm like, man, it does explain some things. And then the kids, when they spoke about getting their old dad back. Like, cause some of these kids are older, right? So they're like, we can see our dad returning, the person he used to be. He's more patient now. He's more loving. He's more thoughtful. He's more considerate. The kids, I really feel like had a slight impact on the judge, hearing them talk. It really showed because this is it, right? Because you can be an ain't shit person, right? And a lot of times, ain't shit people ain't shit. They ain't shit to nobody in their life. They can have kids, they don't take care of them, they don't pay support, they don't nothing. Diddy has been an amazing father to his kids. He has been a present. Let me say that because let me take back amazing because I don't know what type of father he has, like what type of values and all that stuff he instills. So let me take that back. He has been a present father in their lives. He has been active. He made sure Sunday mornings they were getting up, they were watching church, they were doing things together as a family. He's like, Sunday is family day. Ever since Kim Porter passed, I mean, they have 4 kids together. So he has been just the only parent to those kids now that she's gone. So he has stepped up in that role. So to hear somebody, his kids speak well of him, it was touching and showed a more, I guess, a different side than any of the other letters and stuff. Because you just expect that to say these are kids. Like, it's hard to get kids to lie to come here. I mean, they had too much emotion. They really were speaking raw, and so that was touching, something that was really touching. Um, oh yeah, some forever for always for life says her B day when she didn't want it. Yes, freak off Cassie. Yes, and he ended up basically kidnapping her from her house and making her. So all of that stuff, he, was gonna come with. Yep, somebody said the drugs consume him. They did. They did. They changed his character. And yes, he probably is becoming a different person because he's sober now. So he's in there, he's getting back to kind of what God put him here to do, like somebody to inspire, uplift, motivate others to do something. So he just made it a little more time to cook, a little more time to get together. He gonna go back in there, and who knows? Like, everything happens for a reason. Maybe whatever reason he's in the MDC or in this prison system isn't done yet. He needs more time to go back in. Like, you're being punished, but while you're in this punishment phase, I'm going to be using you as a vessel to do so. But we're not done yet. So go on back in there. He's gonna be fine. You'll be home in a couple more years. You can, continue to work on yourself. You can start getting that counseling you talked about you needed. You can start getting that drug treatment so that when you get out, you can be ready to just go hit the ground running into positiveness and not come back. So, it sucks, but for always, forever, for life, the kids made it heartbreaking. For the kids, I feel like it was selfish to have the girls there. Well, I mean, they're his kids, right? They want to see dad. I mean, I kind of feel differently. Like, they're not going to see him anymore, and this was a chance to make a plea to the court. Now, having them sit through a lot of the stuff at the trial, but just having them there, but I don't have kids. So maybe I would feel differently if I had kids. So I don't know. But just I've been doing this for 20 years, and when it's time for sentencing, I need everybody here. Okay, I'm like, where your mama, where your daddy, where the kids, where your grandmama, them. The more people we can get in this courtroom, I'm asking you to bring everybody here. So if them babies ain't in school, I need them here. Like, the 2-year-old wasn't there, but everybody else, I need y'all here. Like, no. So I feel you, but at the same time, as a defense attorney, we need y'all in the courtroom. I need everybody there so we can show the court that y'all got support, so that we can try to get the judge to see that there are things in your life that are going to keep you on track. So to see that you got 6 kids that love you, that are crying, that need you, that's going to keep you on track. To see that you got family support, to see you got a program set up, like, those are things that are going to allow me to be able to give you a chance, because I know that you got things that are going to help keep you on track. So I get what you're saying on that one, but no, we need y'all. We need everybody to show up when it's time. When is D-Day? Yes. Okay. During the trial. Yeah, that was wrong. Yeah, the girls, they need to see that. Hear all that sex stuff and violence. They didn't need to hear any of that stuff. But being there today, yes. The net 418 says, in jail, everybody can get back to a better person. What is he going to do when he gets out? I feel he's that cocky and narcissistic, he will be back to the same BS once he gets home. The judge agreed with you, which is why he gave him some more time to sit there and cook. So he can try to get that straight. All right, next, the government talked about sentencing disparities. Oh no, wait a minute. Was the government done? Yes, the government's done. Okay, so that rested the government's case. So next up was Diddy and his counsel. And y'all, I got a lot of notes. I still got this many more notes. I was in there writing, boy. I said I was going to long stroke this thing like me, but I'm tired. All right, so tell me what y'all want to do. Y'all want to break this thing up for some 2-parters, or y'all want me just to, like, fly through the end? Look, it's been 2 hours. Look, ain't no all nighter. I'm 46. Look, I've been going since I've been up since 4 o'clock this morning though, because I had to get my ass in line at 6:30. I'm sitting here like, I don't know if we're gonna get through all of this. So I have some really good notes. Give it all. Look at Didi says, give it all. Give it all. Keep it moving. We're here now. For always say, oh my God, are you tired? Come back tomorrow if you need to. JC say you gonna forget tomorrow. I know, right? That's what I fear. Okay, fuck it. We gonna keep going. All right. So now the Diddy side is up. All right. So they start off, what's his name? Driscoll gets up. And this is when I started to say, this is like a $2 million defense. Because Driscoll starts, and he's talking about sentencing disparities. So basically, he starts getting in the guideline range, and this is when he hits them. Let me see it, 'cause I know I wrote it down. I was like, oh, they been working. Um, Let me see. Oh, he said this is when he said he read over 900 man at cases. I was like, God, this is what a 2 million. This clearly cost $2 million because you want me to read 900 cases, maybe. God. Anyway, so he Driscoll get up. His whole point is talking about sentencing disparities and basically saying, Judge, you sentenced it to 135 months. That's going to be totally against everything that the government, this court, has ever done about man act cases. It'll be so far off the walls, it'll be appealed. He says that unwarranted sentencing disparities, basically, if two people have got convicted of the same crime, similar facts, and you got one sentenced at 20 months, and you got one at 135, and you got another one at 15 months, you got one at 140, like, if there's no explanation, meaning it's unwarranted, it was nothing in the facts that made such aggravation between the two cases. If it's unwarranted, it's against the law when it comes to the federal guidelines. They want to protect against that. They also said that for 75 years, that this Mann Act has been in place, that the Department of Justice has always had a general rule when it comes to prosecution that it should not be prosecuted in a non-commercial case. What that means, if the person isn't doing this for money, if money isn't involved, like it's not this international sex ring of prostitution where 1.4 million has made, or it's not like they're running a sex ring in Vegas and it's like $100,000. Like if it's not something like that where it's a commercial enterprise of prostitution, we don't even bring the Mann Act. That was like a rule. So why are we here? Because Diddy wasn't a commercial Mann Act case. So they said that one, that this case is not comparable. They go to the Jordan case and they start breaking down why the Jordan case is not comparable to Diddy's case, and they start bringing up all the differences. But the thing that stuck out to me, the other case I couldn't remember was Men's Son Show. It's a female. That's right. It was a woman. She international prostitute broker. It's like, dang, folks be getting there's some crimes out here. It is some crimes out here. So she was an international prostitute broker, access to rings. She profited, and she had 4 cases before they slapped her with a hefty sentence. So they like Diddy on his first case, Judge. Like this doesn't compare. So that's what he broke down. When he said he read all of those cases, so out of the 900 cases, 378 where the defendant was actually convicted and sentenced. So basically, I think the judge had said something like, "This is a hard man act case. Like this is a man act case," and they're like, "No, judge, it's not." One, there were no minors being abused. There were no brothels involved. What else he said that in those other cases, the actors were pimps, and they're saying Diddy's not a pimp because he's the one not doing it for money. He's not prostituting the women out to make money. So he's not a pimp. But of course, the government came back at the end and likened him to a pimp and just talks about his power being currency and all of that stuff. That the women, let me see. That when you have a pimp when you have something that's a pimp, right? That you got minors being abused, you got the brothels, you got the pimp, like, forcing the women into prostitution. Usually the victims are drug addicts, they're homeless, mentally ill, somebody like that. Like Cassidy and Jane and none of that. Like, this is not Diddy's not a pimp. They were trying to separate him from that categorization to show why he shouldn't get this 135 months. Because Diddy didn't make any money from the case. The government says control is his currency. And then Driscoll says, not in this case. Diddy didn't do it for personal gain. He just did it like sexual pleasure. It wasn't personal gain. But in that kind of the same, it is a personal gain, even though it wasn't currency gain. It was your sexual pleasure. You wanted to watch your girlfriend have sex with an escort and then rub the semen on your nipples. Like, that was your choice. That was your personal pleasure. Like, freaky shit. That's so, I don't really buy that all the way. Let me see. Oh, okay. So then he starts to break down. So they said they took all of these cases, 378, where somebody was sentenced and convicted. They made a graph chart, and they basically could see everybody who had their only one, like this was their first conviction. They were sentenced to the average was 12 months in a day. I'm sorry, 12 months in a day was the median. These are motherfuckers in here doing geometry. This shit. I was like, what? How this is a $2 million defense. They said 12 months in a day is the median average. And then, median. And then the average is 14 months. So anyway, Judge, we're asking for the average. So this is where Diddy should fall. And then they said, even when there was the fraud and coercion enhancement, that the average was 28 months. So, Judge, we still should be down here on this side of the range, not the 135. The victim grouping, remember I told you all that the judge in the pre-sentence report said that they were going to loop the escorts into the victim group. So now instead of 2, it was going to be 8. The victim grouping added 5 levels. That's why I said when the judge said that he was going to do that, on top of adding that like 2 points for coercion and 2 points for that, I already knew we had jail time. We had prison time. So, and then Driscoll points out that, well, you got the Nabbitt case where it was 7 victims and they didn't have any grouping, and they got 18 months. So they just that's what the defense started out. So they're all 5 attorneys, well, not all, but 5 attorneys spoke, and each attorney had a different purpose. And Driscoll's purpose was to talk about this sentencing disparaging and talk about the different cases and stuff and how they should be compared. And he listed some other cases and gave like similar sentences. Judge, this case was 18 months. This is comparable to Diddy. He should get this time. So that's pretty much what Driscoll spent his time doing, basically countering the government asking for this 135. Let's see. Customer. Oh, yeah, they just kept talking about cases because he brought up a Diddy's case where he was like a repeat customer of the madam. She supplied him a 14-year-old girl. He paid for that. And they talked about his sentence, and I think his penalty was 24 months. And they're like, Judge, that was like a heinous crime. Diddy didn't do something that bad. So, but the government and the judge they both felt like Diddy did something that bad. They felt like the violence and the coercion and the force into the sex act was that bad. So to them, it was on the level of this 14-year-old girl to them. So nobody else was buying this whole Diddy shouldn't be treated as harshly as anything. Yeah, they just kept on arguing that his case is categorically different than the other 900 cases. So 14 month sentence is the only sentence you can do, Judge. I know the judge is in there like, hold my beer, because I already got some other shit written down. All right, Miss Westmoreland went second. She started out talking about that Diddy has Nene. Thank you so much, sis. Nene, shout out to Nene, has sent a $50 super chat. Oh, that is so appreciative. Thank you so much. Thank you for the support. I love y'all. Thank you. That was so great. Didi has been on the live the whole time, cheering on, checking in with me throughout the day. So I really, really appreciate that. Didi, tell me where you're from. Where do you stay? I'm gonna try to catch it in the chat. So thank you so much. Nicole, I'm about to get into it. You asked the question. Oh, you're so welcome. She says, thank you for your time and coverage. I greatly appreciate that. Thank you so much. You are so welcome. It was an amazing day, y'all. So I was so happy to be here. So thank y'all for tuning in and listening. All right. So Nicole, about to come down that road. All right. So Nicole Westmoreland was up next. She is from Atlanta, Georgia. I do not know Nicole personally. I have seen her in court several times. The criminal defense attorney world in Atlanta is small. We see each other in court all the time. She became, I guess, famous or to you all through the YSL trial. She worked with Bruce Harvey on that case and represented, I should remember his name. It's like, what is his name? Quinn. It'll come back to me. Y'all know all the funny names from the YSL trials. It's one of the long ones. But anyway, I interviewed his wife for my first live for my channel, October 28th last year. So check that out. But so that's where she got her claim to fame from. And then her and Brian Steele were hired to represent Diddy. I guess they were like the last two that were added to the defense team. So her purpose and what she talked about was Diddy's impact on the community as a whole. Like the things he did, like Vote or Die, running the New York Marathon, donating to the books. That's what she talked about. So she starts out help and inspiration. Combs has gone through his life. Let me see. He used his resources to help others. He started a record label. Not a lot of Black people at this time, had labels. He had the audacity to do it anyway. He was a he was a something. What does it say? Something producer. Okay. He what else? It sent a message that you can do it, change the industry and the culture. When he entered the fashion industry, there were not many Black fashion designers. He basically, changed, because y'all know Sean, the line was more than Black people can only wear like urban wear. It was like we can look good wearing anything. We can wear button downs, we can wear, slacks. So it was, we can wear nice suits. And so that is kind of the basis of the line. She talked about that. It showed the country that you could have that we could wear, other different things. He won Men's Wear Designer of the Year. He broke barriers. He was the first Black male designer to win this award in 23 years. After getting the award, he would then teach others on how to develop their own lines and teach them how to, basically the same thing he's doing in the prison. What else she talked about? Oh, she talked about, just wasn't traditional wear, it was upscale design. Let me see. He inspired change that affect the business still to this day. He helped others open their line. And then I was like, who? I don't know. I just started thinking about all the all the I with you when you're right. With you when you're right. With you when you're right. Look, I kind of feel like that too. I kind of feel like it's they hired to do a job, they're gonna do it. Period. And I ain't talking about just the criminal defense job. Whatever you want me to get up here and say, I'ma do it. That's what I got. So let me go back. So Westmoreland is reading this. She's talking about Diddy helped others, clothing line. But then I was thinking who else did he help start? I don't know everything he's helped done. I just know all the artists always complain they don't ever get their money they broke. So I don't know who all he's helped put on, but that is kind of what they were saying. He created a model of brand collaboration that he did. Let me see. He allowed the Black community to have a seat at the table. He then moved on to help others, and then she started crying. I was like, when she started crying, I was like, is she crying? Like everybody kind of like, is she crying? Because it was just like, it kind of started where we weren't for sure. And then it continued. She said when he started revolts, um, and gave Black journalists the opportunity. Okay, I'm not gonna mock. I'm not gonna. I'm not gonna do this. Y'all got it's late night. I'm about to start acting no fool. I'm not gonna mock that. I'm not gonna mock that. I'm gonna see her in court. I'm not gonna mock that. But anyway, she starts crying more. She says that, he gave Black journalists the opportunity to have a voice on revolt, that this was one of Mr. DeCone's missions, was to show his community that they were important. He didn't just sit around and enjoy his success, he helped others. He had spent a lot of time and effort to help individuals who were trying to, feed their goals and their dreams, and crying got worse. He opened 3 charter schools. Let me stop. In poverty-stricken neighborhoods. They were high quality school, college preparatory focus. Main model was excellence. Mr. Combs was focused and dedicated himself to making true change for the students. For always, forever, for life, I did not understand it either. I have been doing this for 20 years. I have dropped tears for clients. I'm not going to act like I've never cried for a client. Most recently this year, top of this year, I had an 18-year-old in Fayette County. Anybody in Georgia know Fayette County don't play the radio. And he had committed 2 armed robberies, and I fought like hell to get him less time than what the law was saying he deserved. But the judge was not buying it. And we had a meeting in chambers, which is in the back with the judge, me and the DA. We made our presentation. I had come up with all this mitigation. I had talked to a Georgia Supreme Court judge and got her opinion on it. And I spoke about that in there. I mean, I had done everything. And when I finished, the judge was like, yeah, you need to take the 20 years that the state is offering, because if not, I'm going to give your client life to serve 20, which would have meant my client would have been on parole for the rest of his life after he got out of the 20. I cried. I said a tear fell, and I was like, oh my God. I was like, just give me a minute. Just give me a second. And I just had to sit back there and just cry for a second before I could go out. I've teared up before at the podium when I'm speaking and it's a sad moment or other people are crying and giving statements or whatever. I have never cried the way Miss Westmoreland cried during this presentation. I'm not sure if it really started to feel performative towards the end, because it got worse and worse. And it almost, I was like, y'all fucking like, girl, you crying like this your man. Like, get it together. Pull it together. Pull it together. So I don't know. It started out kind of like, oh, this, your attorney really cares about you. She's shedding tears. And then it went to, girl, you doing too much. Reel it in. Reel it in. But she stayed with it. I'm talking about she was snotting and everything. I was like, oh wow, this is a lot. She said that he has to live with this. Let me see, he's employed thousands of people over the years. The companies that he that he had were very diverse. This is what I said too. I was like, Lord, how much did she doing way too much? She was doing way too much. She was doing way too much. She lost it. It's like she couldn't come back. Had to stay with it. She was doing way too much. Way too much. She said he's really inspired generations, vote or die, focus on getting the young individuals to vote. Then she really lost it. And she started talking about her own personal experience when she went, that he personally inspired her 8 years ago during the month of September. She went, one of her main goals was to do something about mass incarceration. She attended a conference in DC, and Diddy spoke at this conference. She listened, engaged. Diddy said something so profound that she has held on to it to this day. And tears increased. And she said, y'all, I saw one of my, I'm not going to do it though. I can't. If she was not a lawyer, I would mark it, y'all. I just can't do it. I ain't scared of nobody, but I ain't going to mess with it. Cause I don't know if it was sincere or not. And I don't want to do it if it was truly sincere, but it did not appear that way. But she said that he said, don't be afraid to dream. Just remember to wake up. And I was like, I mean, I just was waiting on so much more with all the tears. I was like, where is the rest? Okay. So he said, don't be afraid to dream. Just remember to wake up and put action behind your dreams. If you don't remember anything else that I say today, is your dreams. What is it? What she say? Remember, as you access your dreams, don't forget to help others. I was like, girl, you up here crying. Okay, I'm glad somebody else said that Diddy told him to put on the show, because I was telling my bestie that came up here with me that I felt there was a couple times, because I'm sitting behind Diddy. I'm maybe like 6 rows behind him, so I can see him, that in the podium that they were speaking from is to the right, that he would look at them like, you better do what I told you to do. That's the look he was giving. Like, he wasn't saying no fucking words, but the look on his face, I saw it twice. It just was like, it wasn't a look of like, I'm looking over there to see what you're doing. It's like, I'm looking at you like, do what I tell you. He didn't turn the head, but it was just like a straight look. But what I felt was a look of, do like I said, like I'm still in control, like do like I'm telling you to do. So maybe that's what he did. Maybe he told her to put that show on, because I ain't never seen nothing like it before. And it really gave this my man. I don't know. It just was weird. It just got weird. It was like touching at first, but it got to be too much that she could hardly talk, like it was at a funeral. Like, it was weird. And then when the words, I was like, girl, got me thinking this man didn't change your life. But maybe it did. Anyway. Okay. So I made in my note a lot of tears. The judge didn't really look moved. He didn't look moved at all. It looked like, what the hell is going on? She said, he's not above the law. He's just a man who made a mistake, but he can help and change so many lives. It's not fair to take that away from him. He will say, somewhere along the way. Somewhere along the way, he lost his way. He's clear-headed now. He's drug-free. He's remorseful. I spent almost every day with him, Your Honor. He gets it. Simply put, he gets it. After getting himself together, he realized that the people around him had given up on life. Is this somebody else? I think this may be, okay. Is this still her? Okay, yeah. I think she's still wrapping up. So she said, after getting himself together, he realized that the people around him had given up on life. His personality has a desire to help other people, even when he's going still through his own struggles. So he noticed that many people locked up at the MDC didn't have much education. There weren't a lot of programs there. And so this is when he started the free game with Diddy class. Everyone was divided in his unit, and because they were a mixture of, so I guess out of 25 people in his unit, some were Hispanic, some Black, some white, some gang, blood, whatever. So they would have fights and stuff like this every day. And once Diddy started teaching the class, he had one rule. So basically, he first started kind of just talking about business skills on a one-on-one basis with people. So certain inmates, he strike up a conversation, see what their passion was, and he would just pour into that one person. Well, then he realized that so many of them were eager to get knowledge. And so instead of talking to them one-on-one, he said, I'll develop this class. But he told them he would only teach them the class if they would agree that they will be peaceful and they will all do it together. He wasn't going to teach them individually. He wasn't going to teach just the Bloods, the Crips. What he said, y'all got to come together. And from the day he started teaching the class, there were no more fights in his unit. they all got along. So that was a big play, and that's a good thing. And the judge even said it in his sentencing, like, I hope you continue the work that you've done with this. Although Diddy kind of gave like, I'm gonna kick all this shit over. I ain't doing another goddamn fuck y'all in them classes. I don't know. We're gonna see, but that's the kind of, I mean, y'all, he wanted to go home. So that's the kind of attitude I got today when he left. Like, fuck them classes, but he probably will continue doing them. But he probably gonna need a couple of weeks before he start back teaching them damn classes, because the classes was like a really big part of how they felt like he was gonna go home. Yeah, yep, Michelle, thank you for reminding them. Don't forget to hit the like button. Someone, okay, let's go. Lorenzo Casey says, with this appeal that his lawyer is going to put into place, why did it be free within a year or less? The best is yet to come. I doubt it. I doubt it. In order for him to be free off of his appeal, it would mean that the court would say that the judge misapplied something in the sentencing guidelines or something. Judge Submaranian was so detailed that I would be surprised if there was an error that popped up. Really, just honestly, what they're going to argue is that they feel like the leveling should be here, and all these aggravating factors shouldn't have been applied. But I don't know. We'll see if they kick it back. My humble opinion says, Fit Lawyer, I started watching you on Lead Attorney, and I really enjoy listening to you. This is an excellent live. Thank you. Thank you so much, sis. Just shout out to TLA. I talked to him earlier and told him how amazing New York was. So he is doing well. So thank you for that. All right. So then she went into the MDC's evaluation of the class, because I remember I told y'all that they had submitted an evaluation today. And so she said basically the staff sat through the class. It's a 6-week course. They also worked with talked to the inmates that had been coming through the class, and they felt like it was excellent, gave it excellent markings, and so they wanted that report to be included. And then we got ready to take the judge says, okay, what's going on? How many more people got left? So she was done. She said her crying self down. So then Mr. Steele gets up because he's the next one to speak. But the kids were going to go first. So he says, all right, well, let's let the kids go, and then let's take a break, and then y'all can come back. So the kids, and it was I'm not gonna say performative, but like I do this too. Like you always want to like rise together like a choir, all line up at the podium because you want to put on a show. Like this is Citizen, this is what it's all about. It's about a show. So all the kids got up together. Mind you, I told you they were all on the same row. So they're all coming down, they're all standing up. The boys line up first, the girls stand behind them. And it was touching to see them, all there and all lining up. And, they're kids, right? At the end of the day, they're kids. They over 20s, a few of them adults, but they're still kids, right? I think all the girls are under 21. So first up is Quincy, who you all know. Quincy Brown is Albie Sure's son, right? Yeah. And so he says, my name is Quincy Brown. No matter what, Sean Combs is my father. I was like, okay, Quincy. Thank you for letting us know. Quincy had I remember him when he played in, what's that, Star? I think it was that movie, that show that he was on, that series. But he had like a low cut Caesars, blonde, and he had some long dangly earrings, and he kind of gave like a little like punk rockish kind of look, kind of vibe or whatever. But he spoke first, and he was like, Sean Combs is my father. He's a changed man. He's learned a major lesson. He's evolved 15 years. I see the growth. And, that was kind of quick. Like, he didn't really have, a whole lot to say. He didn't get emotional like that. He just, kind of spoke and went on. And then up next was Justin Combs. And he says, Justin Combs, Your Honor, firstborn son of Sean Combs. So I don't know if it's like a thing between him and Quinn. I don't know. He was like firstborn son of Sean Combs. And I asked for a second chance to be the man, the man he truly is. I've seen him through his toughest times. My father is my superhero. To see him stripped down of everything was hard. This time he's probably, he said this time has in custody has probably saved my father's life. He's changed for the better. He has so much more to give the world. The next up was Christian, third son. He says, and he looks just like Puff, y'all. Like that is his little twin, and that's what he calls himself. But this, I did think some stuff was telling that he said. So he's like, Christian, the third son, I most resemble Pop, and he says a lot of people say it's because we look alike, but also it's because I studied my dad. He's the greatest man in the world. He always taught me to treat women with respect. He he's seen his dad put people in better positions. He he says he has to come across the country for 2 hours to visit his dad. He said his dad is more relaxed, more trusting, more patient, more understanding. He can see it in his eyes that he's changed. Please give my family grace. Please give him mercy. Let him get out and become the man we all know he can be. And as he was talking about, like, I studied him. I studied the way he walked, the way he talked. Like, I studied my dad for years. And I'm like, man, that's telling, because don't he have some allegations? Okay, okay, that's what I thought, right? For Always Forever for Life says Justin and Christian have their own lawsuits, so Diddy has not been a good example for his sons, right? And so the judge is aware of that, I'm sure. And so hearing like the how you are influencing your kids, I'm also considering that too. And so I don't want to I need to show them as well that you can't act like this, right? I'm sure that played some part into it, but that was telling for me when he was like, my dad has taught me to respect women. And I'm like, yeah, allegedly you ain't. So I don't know, shit. And he kept saying, like, I'm his twin. Da, da, da. I mean, he just had the same like mannerisms as Diddy. Like, even when he was talking, like, I didn't see my daddy put people in better positions. Like, just the way he's talking, he already giving like Diddy vibes. So I don't know what that's gonna do for him in life, but I definitely was like, okay, interesting. Next up was Jessie Combs. She was one of the twins, and she started crying instantly after she introduced herself. She was crying. She was so sweet. He's still our dad, and we still need his presence. When my mom died, I was so young. I remember him holding us close, and what he said, and praying that what is it praying that he would keep us safe and be there and comforted her. And that's what she kind of, they were very emotional. Like, they lost their mom. And they're like, I'm about to lose my daddy too. Like, their dad has been a full-time parent to them since Kim Porter died. So the girls were really, really emotional when they talked. The next daughter to speak was Chance. She's the oldest daughter. That's Sarah Chapman's daughter. I think her last name Chapman. Sarah's and I said, boy, we need to call Diddy Jody. That one thing his man can do is make some pretty babies, okay? All his babies, all his kids are very beautiful kids. But and he seems to be a very loving father. They all love him. They were very hurt. The girls are very hurt. They said Chance said she feels a huge emptiness in their lives. Let me see. He speaks with a clear mind. They say he's more thoughtful. And to hear girls describe their dad like this, it was really touching because it matters. Like, sometimes, me and y'all can be a little a little rough, a little hard, not as emotional as women can be. So for them to say this about their dad, it was really touching for them to say that. So they were saying he speaks with a clear mind, more thoughtful. Instead of making excuses, he talks about how he wants to do different. He sees it as they see the difference in him and how he parents their 2-year-old sister. So they can see glimpses of their father, who they used to be, how he used to be with them. They can see that how he's with the 2-year-old because he's sober now, right? Because he's been high for the last 25 years because he had that addiction to the pain pills from the surgery. So that was telling for all the kids. Kind of spoke about seeing a difference in their dad. And they said that love deserves so much more. Like, don't let her grow up missing a parent like we are. Delilah came last and she spoke again. This is one of the twins. Very emotional. She said, we are scared of the thought of not having our dad present in our lives. So that means basically both of their parents are gone because Kim Porter's gone. So if dad is gone too, both of their parents, they're without a parent. We cannot, they can't watch their sister grow up fatherless like we grew up motherless. It was very touching. You could hear sniffles throughout the courtroom as they testified. That I know how much, missing years hurt. They don't want love to experience that same hurt that they experienced from not having their mom. They are tired of being strong. And I was like, oh my God. And that forever, for always, for like that's what you were like talking about the girls like being there. They were like, we are tired of being strong. To hear like kids, like it's grown women sometimes, or grown ups, period, we can say like we're tired of being strong, tired of being strong. But to hear babies, they're like are they teens? I'm not sure. I think they're like teens. To hear them say we're tired of being strong. We lost our mother, we need our father, and every day that he's in here, we lose more and more of him. So that was kind of hard to watch as well. Oh no, they're 18. Yeah, 18. Noah says, hello, Chad. Nene says, watching all Karen Reed and Adelson trials. I'm a watcher of all during my work day. Yeah, see, doing your work day. When you're in a comfortable chair, you're doing something and it's in your ear. That's sitting in that courtroom for every day. Boy, y'all can have it. Y'all can have it. Let me see. Please give our family a chance to move forward and heal together, not as a headline, but as a family. I was like, ooh, that was good. I'm like, school help her write that. That was good. She had a good letter. And then they played the video. And I don't know if you all have seen the video. If not, once you all get off this live, you can go to my channel and I posted it. I posted this morning, but in this hotel Wi-Fi was delaying to upload. So I saw it early this morning, but it's 11 minutes. I think it's like 11 and a half minute video that they played in the courtroom. And it's a video, Diddy with his family, him with the kids, the twins when they were younger. I mean, it's high quality, right? And the government kind of talked about that too, right? They were like, oh, when you know the cameras was watching, we got this video where you beating Cassie ass down the hallway and all that kind of stuff. Oh, when you know the world's watching, we got this Disney production over here. So judge, take it for what it is, basically. So we took a lunch break. I think the lunch break was like an hour. Literally is enough time for me to come outside, grab my phone, because, I forgot to say that part. When you come into the federal courthouse, you have to turn all of your electronics in. So like all my phones, all that stuff was turned in by security. So I wasn't able to have my phone or anything with me. So they took my phone, my microphone, my watch, all of that stuff. So I had to, during lunch, go get all that stuff back, stand in line to get it back. And then once I got it, I was able to come outside and then go live. So that's how that works. Let's see. So the judge said, all right, come back after lunch. I think we came back at let me see, we took a lunch break. I think we came back at 1:30. That's what time it was. No, 2:10 or something like that. Maybe it was 2:10 that we came back. So we came back from lunch, and when we came back, Brian Steele was up. Okay. So originally, Steele was the twins are 19, born 06. Okay, cool beans. But I understand where this word we have to stand up to justice. It's ATL. Oh, yep. What now? Oh, Nancy Grace intern, Tisa tells she used to be an intern, had meltdown, Diddy strikes again. You definitely tell she ain't no Diddy fan. But yeah, we were like on the same row in court. But okay, back to this. So you could tell like originally, right, it was supposed to be the kids, the video, and then Brian Steele. Well, because we had this lunch break, we come back in and it starts up with Brian Steele. He should have changed the first sentence of his opening because he opens it and says, well, of course, y'all know how Brian Steele, if you watch the YSL trial, he's overly gracious. Okay, so I want to thank this honorable court for allowing me to practice in this majestic building. You're like, Brian, get the book. If y'all know Brian Steele lay it on thick, baby. He take the Southern charm to like 3,000. So he says, I want to thank you for letting me practice in this majestic building. Want to thank this honorable court for the opportunity. But then he says, I sit here with tears in my eyes because I can't believe we're here. I'm like, bro, you ain't even start crying yet. We just got back from lunch. We just got back from lunch. Brian, ain't nothing emotional happened yet. They was just laughing and playing. We just got back from lunch. We not there yet. But when you've been practicing something, you got your speech, sometimes it just flows like that. But I was kind of like, you know, like somebody said earlier, Westmoreland and Steele put on the show. They put on a show. So he says, I stand here with tears in my eyes and I can't believe we're here. He's imparted the world. Did he say imparted? Imported? What did I write there? He's something, the world, so many people. How do we get here? We trust you to fashion a sentence because the jury has spoken. This moral man, this is still talking about Diddy. He says, this moral man, the hardest working person I've ever known, religious family man, has untreated trauma, ferocious drug addiction that got out of hand and saw Sean at times flatline. At the age of 3, his father was murdered and he has no memory of him. His mom's brother overdosed on drugs, raised in Harlem, put where police were afraid to go. There was prostitution, drug abuse, killings, gangs. His mom worked 3 jobs. She drove a school bus. She worked at some kind of facility with disabled person, and I missed the third one. She saved up a lot of money so that they could move the family to Mount Vernon. And when they moved to Mount Vernon, he was one of the only African-American families in the neighborhood. He encountered racism. Kids would not play with him. He was called the N-word. And so during the daytime, when his mom was at work, Diddy would go back to Harlem so that he could, be back around his friends. One of the most intelligent persons I know. He withdrew from Howard University after his second year because he had dreams of something bigger. He interned at a record label, did grunt work. And as he would be in the studio sessions, they started to see that his ear was better than anyone else's. Sean would change the fashion in the videos. He became the head of A&R, and then he started Bad Boy Records. Diddy had a no drugs in the studio policy when he was a producer. And a lot of people in the courtroom, when Brian Steele said this, were kind of like nodding their heads in agreement. Like that was his policy, no drugs in the studio. And he said his best friend died in his arms in LA. He had 2 friends gunned down in Atlanta, but Diddy didn't take time out to grieve. He just kept working. He was trying to break down barriers, and he has an operation and gets addicted to painkillers. And then he said he's been high every day since then. He was medicating because his body was hurting. His emotions were hurting. On occasion, he would hit the woman he loved. And this is where, Brian Steele is an amazing attorney. But discounting, and the team talk. This is Diddy's defense team. This is the strategy they took. They kept discounting Cassie being a victim and discounting the violence that she suffered and discounting what she went through. So that was a theme that kept coming up during the testimony. So this is when he got into it again. He says on occasion he would hit the woman he loved. It's kind of insensitive, right? It's kind of insensitive. Sean has always taken responsibility to the Mann Act, and Brian says he would have taken a plea, but he wasn't ever given a chance because his charges included RICO and sex trafficking, and the government never offered him a plea just to the Mann Act. Brian said he bangs his head against the wall, remembering each strike that he gave Cassie. Now, I don't know if he was just talking about the strikes in the video or he meant like every time he abused them, but the defense tried to really make it seem as if the only violence was this video. So he said, he bangs his head against the wall, remembering this violence to Cassie. He prays for everyone that he's hurt and for their healing. He's been at the MDC for 12 months and 17 days. The guard stopped a person. I don't know when this occurred, but a person with a shank had got on top of Diddy trying to harm him, and the deputies had to stop it. He hasn't slept for any more than 2 consecutive hours since he's been in custody. He talked about the room that they shared. There's 25 people in this room, and it's the toilet, the refrigerator, the dirty water that they have to boil before they can drink it. He talked about, just how it is in prison. Separated from his family, he lost his businesses. He has to take, we know you have to take into account the totality of the person, and he's just like laying it all out. His name once had prestige. He has dedicated his work to helping people. He raised millions in that New York inner city, the New York Marathon that Diddy ran. He talked about how he raised millions in that and gave it to the school system. He talked about the thousands of people who now want to remove the fact that they worked for Sean Combs from their resume. Like, he has to live with all of that. His family loves him. He does have true friends, and he says some of them are here today. Even in his broken state, being locked up at the MDC, he still was trying to help others. He said that jail is built on hopelessness, and Diddy noticed that and pulled together, the inmates and stuff to try to give them hope. Cedar, they said they're boiling water because the water is polluted, and that they can't drink it. So, Nina, you said I'm killing you. What am I doing something? Is that good or bad? So that's going on. So they can't drink the water. So they have to boil it. So he said that was an issue. Brian still talks about somebody named Charles Scruggs, who was an inmate that was locked up with Diddy as well. He was released in his own house arrest, and they were saying that he wanted to speak to the court about how impactful Diddy was to the MDC, because he had been there prior to Diddy getting there, and he was there after, and while Diddy was there, and now he's home. But of course he couldn't come because he's on house arrest. But he's like, I'm by my court ordered phone. If you all want to call me, and I can speak. The judge didn't call, but they talked about that. Brian still talked about incarcerating Diddy is warehousing him. Basically, he's no reason for him to be incarcerated. He's already basically rehabilitated himself. This court can use him, let him get the help, counseling, and therapy he needs to be with his family. Days of Our Lives says, "You good. This is such a great recap. I feel like I'm I'm at court in my bed." Yes. I have no clue how they're boiling water. When he said that, I have no clue. Look, these inmates come up with some shit. They in there like making wine. They do all kind of stuff in prison. So I can't tell you how they did it. I don't know. I don't ask. Like, as defense attorneys, when our clients tell us they doing stuff, we don't ask. Plausible deniability shit. I don't want to know, because if it comes up later, I can act like I ain't never know. So I have no clue how they boiling water. Let me see. What else? Let me see. Oh, then they spoke to like this whole speaking engagement thing. So I remember I told you how he had some classes set up for next week. And then still talks about how October 6th is occurring because other people realize that Diddy can change lives. He says the environment like prison is not proper for people who need treatment. They kept saying that Diddy needs counseling and he needs drug treatment, but he definitely doesn't need prison. You can use him as a tool so that other people don't sit in his seats. the court made a finding that this was coercion force. And this is where Brian took a turn for the worse. Not the worst, but he took a right. And he should have just stayed on the path. So he speaks to the judge, adding like that leveling due to coercion and force, and pulls out the transcript and quotes sentences from Cassie to prove to the court that she was down for it and she wanted it. And I was just like blown away that this was happening at the sentencing hearing. He says Miss Ventura agreed to engage in the first freak off because she wanted to make the defendant happy. She didn't want to make him mad. She didn't want to tell him that she didn't want to do it anymore. She didn't want him to regret having shared this vulnerable side of him. So he liked these free calls. He shared it with her and wanted her to participate. She didn't want to say no because she didn't want Diddy to feel bad that he was, that he shared this vulnerable part. Like, and I've got a line says not helpful, not helpful. Like, no. Like, what are we doing? We are at sentencing. You have been convicted of the Mann Act. Why are you still standing up here trying to make this girl not seem like she's a victim? Cut it. Did not go over well. The government immediately responded to that in rebuttal, and the judge addressed that as well. So that was not a good move. Now, while it's true, I believe it's true that she did participate in things that she didn't want to do and all kind of stuff. This ain't the time to harp on that. That's my point. Like, this, read the room. This is not the time at all. He's like, she was just in love and wanted Diddy to be happy. Like, they're still trying to discredit and minimize this impact that this pain and torture had on Cassie's life is not the right move. This girl is talked about literally wanting to commit suicide behind some of these actions. So you talking about she wanted it, we not there. Like, let it go. So it was kind of cringy when he got into that. Yes. Chelsea Lynn NC says, yeah, that is wild, rehashing it from the transcript. Yeah, he was actually citing the line numbers and reading it from the transcript. And I'm like, wow, that was a little cringe. So then still argues like, you're not sentencing Sean for sex trafficking or RICO, but for the Mann Act. Basically, don't consider all that stuff. Like, stay focused, judge. We're just here about transportation for prostitution, not violence and RICO and all that stuff. He says if released, he'd like to go back to Miami and care for his mother. He talks about those people. Melnick and Bryant have the resources, the doctors, somebody he can work with to make sure that he gets every bit of therapy that he's supposed to get, that he needs. He will speak openly about what it's like to be in jail, lose his businesses, hurt to those you love, and being away from your family. Like, these are things he'll speak to others about as he's trying to help them. Then he brought up John Lennon, which is something that Brian still likes to use, like, big artists or whatever to compare. Like, he compared, I think he compared Young Thug to John Lennon too. He compared Young Thug to somebody. He might have used John Lennon on Thug too. But anyway, he says John Lennon once explained he's a violent man, and he said he doesn't know why he is. He just is. And he's saying back then we didn't have the things we have now that can help people like John Lennon. Like, he needs counseling. He needed counseling. He needed help back then, but we didn't have it. So Diddy can get the help he needs to be a better person. He says Diddy wants to be a dad again, a son, someone who is not crying out. Allow Sean to be sentenced to 14 months. Allow Sean Combs. Sean Combs is a leader. And then Brian said Sean Combs is a civil rights leader. His good outweighs his bad. And then they had Dr. Cedar Elves, you gotta go now. You sleeping. No, Cedar, stay. Y'all motherfuckers made me stay up and keep talking about this shit. You gotta stay on with me. No, I'm just playing. You could always come back later and check it out. Thank you so much for your well wishes. Thank you. Thank you for that. From your lips to God's ears. Thank you. Thank you. And I'm almost done. So we all about to be going to sleep with Cedar soon. So next up was Mr. Gary, Dr. Gary Johnson. That was a guy from the King Clergy Group. So he was allowed to speak for a couple of minutes. And he's a former president of the SCLC and the new president of King Clergy. And he basically just spoke as like, he kind of reminded me like a civil rights leader. Like he just basically was speaking like, look, give us back our son. We'll hold on to him. We'll make sure he get the counseling he need. We'll make sure he get back on track. You done got 12 months and a couple of weeks out of him. Go and give him back to us and we'll take care of him. That's basically everything that he was saying. Like, we'll just make sure Diddy stays on track. And we'll make sure that he, gets the counseling he needs and all of that. He says if you give him an opportunity, he won't be back because he made a mistake. He'll be back to say thank you. And then he said, Jordan's mom once said, these sneakers are just sneakers, but when my son puts them on, they are Jordan. So, just to say, like, Sean is a special person. He has that special touch. He's developed a course inside the prison that they haven't had developed in ever. So he's just trying to say, like, he's such a special person. He needs a chance. Give him a chance. He says, give him to us and let us redeem him. Next up was Xavier Donaldson, tall, dark, and handsome on the legal defense team. He said, Judge, it's been a long day, but I think it's worth it. He said, we do believe that up to 14 months is enough. Collateral. Oh, so he talked about collateral consequences. That was his big thing. He talked about how the kids will be impacted. And so that the judge basically should consider the collateral consequences of sentencing Diddy to prison. And that you won't just be punishing him, you'll be punishing more people. You'll be taking somebody away that's been inspiring, positive, uplifting to the Black community. Like, you need to take into consideration, the love that Diddy has for his family. And then he went into explaining why Diddy wasn't a pimp. He says Diddy is not a pimp. Pimps seek women out to prostitute them to other people for money. He says Mr. Combs is not in the business of doing that. And then he talked about, we got two people here. Who is the real Sean Combs? What you read in the letters, heard from the family in the video, or the person before the drugs, the focused person, the determined person, the dedicated person. That person still exists. So although you see everything that the drug addicted person did, the real person is the person that you hear about in the letters, the consistent person that you keep hearing about, the person who developed the free game course. That is the real Sean Combs, and that is who you're sentencing. Don't think about the drug addicted person, think about this person. That is who we want you to apply the 14 months to. He said drug addiction is not an excuse. We're not using it as an excuse, but it's just, explaining. He says that Mr. Combs flatlined off of these drugs, and it was a tragedy. Sorry. Nene says, sends a $2 super chat. Thank you so much, Nene. She says, join me in contributing to this talented lawyer. Oh, thank you so much, Nene. That's so sweet. I really appreciate that. Thank you, guys. Thank you. Thank you. All right. So, Donaldson says it's not lip service to talk about his engagement. So then he went to go further explain this whole speaking engagement thing, because like the government was not feeling it at all. So he says that it's not lip service, that he basically had these engagements to set up to be able to show them that if you give him a chance, he's not just going to be out here throwing all white parties next week, Judge. He's going to be good, putting in work to go back and inspire others. He said the true Sean Combs come back. He says that Xavier says that when he heard about the course, It had never happened before, so he kind of investigated. He said he called the prisons in Florida, called and asked them, talked to them about it, got them interested. So they looked at the course and were like, "Oh my God, this is amazing. We don't have anything like this here either." So, Diddy, can you come down and do the course for us as well? So he's trying to explain, like, Judge, this is not a speaking engagement. This is a teaching moment. He's going to inspire others. That's why we had this set up, and that's how the judge received it. He spoke at the end and said he didn't have any problem with that, and so that's how he received it as well. Let's see who talked after. Okay, so after Donaldson went, they brought up the reentry guy, Giovanni. And I will say, like, Giovanni wrote a very detailed letter. So the judge was kind of like, I already saw his letter. Is he going to say something that he ain't already said in the letter? Because I already saw a very thorough letter. And he says, well, Judge, he asked the judge, like, you know what? Don't even worry about it. Like, in other words, look at the clock. It's like, it's about 4:15 now, because now I'm looking at the clock on the wall. He said, yeah, he can come on in. So he lets him come on in. So Giovanni comes in. What was good about Giovanni is that he was a formerly incarcerated person himself. And when he was locked up, he actually developed a life skill course. And his course basically was being received the same way Diddy's course was. Like, it was the first thing done in his prison. So once he got out, he basically continued to help the other inmates, started a whole nonprofit they're working with. This nonprofit has gained a lot of success because there truly is not a lot of classes in these prisons. So these guys just go to prison and they're just fighting for their life. They're not in there really bettering themselves. So when you have a really good course that the inmates get, tackle, and they love, and it kind of like really inspires them and gives them that hope, it's something that they're excited about. So he did the same thing. It's not like recently, this was like years ago. So he talks about that. He says, like, one good thing with their nonprofit is that their philosophy is that those that are closest to the problem are usually closest to the solution. And I'm like, that is a good point. So he said, a lot of times they'll put people in these programs and they be ran by people who had never had drug addictions, never, and so they don't even relate to the people. So it wasn't a successful course. But when you have somebody who actually has been there, done it, then that makes the course more successful. And that's why they like Diddy's course, and they wanted him to come in and help them with their recidivists, with the inmates that they work with, so that they could cut down on recidivism. So it was really impactful to hear him speak. It was like, oh, okay, so it's not just like they got Diddy go do these speaking engagements, this teaching, like this program, like it's really like a full circle thing, right? So that was really good. So hopefully Diddy does continue to work with them, and he ain't just like kicking the table over the night and saying F that class. But hopefully he continues, because he's going to be in custody for at least a couple more years. So maybe he can put, put some more work into it and get it set up. So we are nearing the end. So let me see what y'all over here talking about. For always, forever, for life. Calling him a civil rights leader was not a good look. Because what the fuck, right? I was like, civil rights? I mean, you did the vote or die, but I don't think we ever considered Diddy to be a civil rights leader. I mean, you broke some barriers. Not gonna take anything from him, but a civil rights leader? Oh, thank you so much. Net418 says, thank you for all you do. I've been following since TLA. You're amazing. Oh, thank you so much. Like, you never know who's watching, y'all. That is so cool. I'm seeing some new people from Lee's channel. So shout out to you all. Thank you so much. Net418 for the $5 super chat. Appreciate you, sis. Y'all got me long stroking this thing tonight, boy. All right, so next up was, and last before Diddy, was Ignifilo. He spoke. He basically kept it kind of, he was kind of short with it. He just basically said, Judge, we asked him for 14 months. And at this point, the judge looked like he over it. He's not, I don't see him taking no notes. He just kind of like this. And like, he's already little. Like, you gotta look, like, this courtroom is huge. It's a big courtroom, and the distance between me and the judge is almost, it feels like half a football field. Like, it's far. And then he's got this big, massive, bench that he's sitting behind, and then he's like this. It's so funny. Look at it. It's like this big grand courtroom, and it's like this little bitty person up there, and his little bitty head, but he was over it. He was just kind of like, go ahead. I noted in my notes, he looks like he's over it at this point. Because now it's about like about 4 o'clock now. So Agnifilo, he's talking about that Diddy suffers from PTSD, and this is from the reports the doctors did. Although we can't determine what this domestic violence. He also said domestic violence comes from trauma. He also talked about Diddy has PTSD, but they can't determine what exactly caused the PTSD. But PTSD. That he also was said to have major depressive disorder and major anxiety disorder, and that he had heavy drug use. So that came out. He talked about him being punished in a very public way, how how that when a home was raided, that his kids were held at gunpoint. So that came out. So that was interesting for him to talk about, like, basically saying, like, hey, look, this is like a big deal. Like, Diddy has been punished already for this because he's been punished publicly. Everybody know his business. Everybody knows he like semen rubbed on his nipples. Everybody knows like they have free calls. Everybody knows that he likes to hire men and watch them have sex with the women that he claims he loves. Like, all his business is out there. So he's been punished enough. This is a deterrent. You don't need to punish him anymore. He needs mental health treatment. He needs domestic violence treatment. And he needs to only be able to take drugs if they're prescribed from a doctor. He said, so we're not asking for a light sentence, but we're asking for the root of the problem to be addressed. And he says, I'm so grateful for the time Your Honor has devoted to this case. And then he sits down. So at this point, that's the end of one notebook. I took that one notebook. We almost run though. So he sits down and he's like, they rest. So the government started. So he's like, now Slavic jumps back up so she can just do her response. And she just is really quick. She's just like, Judge, I just want to talk a couple of things. Driscoll was saying, Driscoll was the first attorney that spoke for Diddy. Remember, he is the one that focused on the sentencing disparities and talking about how these are all these different cases, and we only found that we only applied, 12 months to this stuff. So that's Driscoll. So she says the highest level in Driscoll's chart, because remember I told you they took all 900 man at cases and put together a chart. They said that, Judge, this chart is irrelevant to this case because this chart, the highest level on this chart is a 20. You've already said, Judge, that this defendant is leveled at a 27. So therefore, throw this chart away. It's irrelevant. And it highlights further that each case under the Mann Act is a case-by-case basis. So all of this comparison with the different cases and stuff is really irrelevant because you've already said he's at a 27. And so therefore, this chart goes up to a 20, throw it away. They say here we had 8 weeks of trial. And when you pull cases off this whole out of the 900 that had trials, that people were sentenced to 120 months, 135 months, even 180 months with similar violence that is in Diddy's case. She said Diddy knew exactly what he was doing. He knew it was wrong and illegal, and he did it for 15 years. And then they brought up, because the defense attorney, it's just certain things that are going to be sticking points in your case that no matter how much you don't like them, you just have to live with the facts. And Diddy was under investigation and he didn't stop. She said pimps exploit and control victims. That is exactly what the defendant did. Oh, and remember how I told y'all they brought up this whole 1.4 million from the Dillon case, trying to show how that's different from Diddy's case? She said, Judge, we talked about 94 freak-offs in this case. 94. At $5,000 per escort, and freak-offs happens weekly, that 1.4 million they talked about, it would buy 117 freak-offs. And we talked about 94. So they said, take that. That's how we get to this 135. I'm like, 94 freak offs? Yeah. So 94 times he hired escorts, 94 freak offs. No wonder the judge said it's massive. Judge Submaranian sit up there like, what the hell? The judge up there like, I ain't never seen nothing like this before. So he clearly was like, he going to jail. Also, the government said there were dozens of text messages from Diddy showing that he had verbal abuse as well, not just physical. What else? Oh, she talked about Diddy's IG apology, claimed that he had hit rock bottom and was a changed man. Y'all remember that when he apologized to Cassie? He had like a little loose little t-shirt, and he was sitting like he was, I don't know, like he was in Bali somewhere. I didn't know where he was. Somebody in the wilderness apologizing and saying he was a changed man, and he literally continued to have freak offs after that. So they're like, yeah, whatever. So they're like, discount everything you hear out this man's mouth, every letter. It's performative. He's full of it. Behind closed doors, he is beating people and everything. And then she even mentioned Steele. Remember I told y'all he shouldn't have did that? She said Steele spoke like Cassie wanted it, and she didn't. Sean Combs used violence, threats, substances over the last. Okay. So then she starts quoting Cassie's letter. Sean Combs used violence. That's what it was. Okay. Yep. Substances over my career. I spent the last 7 years getting clean. She talks about suicide, nightmares, and flashbacks. And then lastly, your boy got up. Last up with Diddy. We almost done. Ooh, y'all can't never say fit then long stroke it. It's been 3 hours. We've been long stroking it up. Nene said she was leaving me. She's still with me. Hey, Nene. Glad you were still here. All right, so we're gonna get into Diddy and then we about to be out. So Diddy, okay, so we took a break. So after everybody's done, Diddy's gonna be the last thing that the judge hears before he sentences. He gave us a 5-minute break. So I'm trying to think. Did we leave out? I think he might have given a 10-minute break with Diddy. He even said 5 or 10, but everybody ran out. So everybody was using the restroom in the break before Diddy spoke. So we're going to the restroom. So it probably ended up being like a 10-minute break. So we come back and Diddy is sitting like this. And so I'm immediately take out my pen and pad. So I got my head down too. So I'm writing, but nothing's happening, no movement. So I look up, Diddy still is like this. He has glasses on. He got his glasses on. And the judge says, Mr. Combs, the floor is yours. Take your time. You can speak whenever you're ready. And I was like, wow. So you could tell like nervousness, all of that. Like, or you know what? I don't know. It could have been a performance. I don't know. But anyway, head down. And then he's like, you can tell he's emotion. He's having some type of emotion because, you know, he's like shaking a little bit or whatever. And then he just takes like a really deep breath, like it's a really loud breath. And then he gets up. Well, he still takes a second and then he gets up and then he starts talking. I thought he was going to go to this podium that everybody been going to, but he just stood where he was to talk. And I guess that's because he's an inmate. He probably was shackled some kind of way or something. I don't know, but he just stood there. So he stands up and he says, I want to thank you. I want to thank you, my family, for giving a chance to speak. Oh, he said, I want to thank you. That's right. He said, I want to thank you for finally giving me the chance to speak up for myself. Being quiet, not being able to express how sorry I am about my actions has been hard. I apologize for any harm I caused her, and as he's passing, apologizing to Cassie. I don't like any harm because you know exactly the harm that you caused. So I need you to be apologizing for kicking, beating, stumping, causing bruises, physically beating her, mentally, verbally abusing her. Like, put it all in there. We know what the any is. So go ahead and take responsibility for it, Diddy. But he did not. He said, I apologize for any harm I caused her emotionally and physically. I don't take it lightly. He apologized to her family. He apologized, says, I'm sorry. Oh, he apologized to Jane and says, I'm sorry I brought you into my mess. He apologized to all victims of DV because that video triggered a lot of people. Now, when he's doing this apology, I'm kind of looking over my shoulders because Gina is sitting behind me. Virginia Hun, I think how you pronounce her last name, the Asian girl. That's everybody knows the Asian girl. Um, Gina she needs some help too. She's a victim as well. We all know the alleged allegations of Diddy allegedly kicking her in the stomach when she was pregnant and causing her to have a miscarriage and all of this stuff. I met with the prosecution several times. She wrote a letter in support of Diddy. And in her letter, she says that the prosecution tried to convince her that she was a victim, but she is not a victim. And yeah, her behavior today, she just was kind of like trying to be in the mix, like trying to, like see what's going on, trying to get up there with I don't know. It just gave weird vibes. Like she just really needs some help. I feel sorry for her. So back to Diddy. And I only mention her because she's one of these victims as well, but she's writing in support of him. And she was there today in the back behind me or whatever. So for what it's worth. So Diddy goes back. Let's go back to him. He says, my domestic violence will be a heavy burden I will have to carry. As a 20-year criminal defense attorney, I have never heard a defendant say my domestic violence. That just sounded weird, like my domestic violence. What about me being abusive to my girlfriends is a heavy burden I will have? I don't know. It just seemed weird. So he said, my domestic violence will be a heavy burden I will have to carry. But what about the pain that your victims are living with forever? Anyway, my actions were disgusting, shameful, and sick. Sick from drugs, out of control. He admits that he knew better. He says, I was raised better. My faith taught me better. He says he lost his way, his journey in life. I be trying my best, but I lost my way, lost in the excess. Because of my decisions, I lost my freedom, the ability to be there for my children and mother. I lost businesses, careers, destroyed my reputation, and lost my self-respect. I am humbled and broken to the core. I am stripped down to nothing. He actually gets emotional. Like, he starts to kind of choke up. I am truly sorry no matter what they say. He's talking about the government because they were saying he didn't appear remorseful. He turns now and faces us because he's looking at his kids. So he turns to his kids and he says, I failed you as a father. And his voice cracks. He turns to his mom and he says, Mommy. And when he said mommy, I was like, oh, my heart cracked just because like mommy is like, you like mama, but mommy was like he wanted to reach out and be held by her, like, save me. Like, mommy, I failed you as a son. I'm sorry. And then he starts crying. He says, you taught me better. You raised me better. To whom much is given, much is required. He says, I failed my community. I just wanted to be an example that we could do it too, that we could create our own wealth, that we could solve our own problems. I'm not a bad person. I'm sorry to the community. I'm sorry for letting them down. He said, if given a chance, people can change. I've changed. You get so shaken, it changes your trajectory. You can go through something that just shakes you, is what he's saying, and it can change your trajectory. I know I've been changed for the better. He asks for mercy, begs for mercy, a chance to be a father again. I beg for a chance to be a son again, a leader in the community, a chance to get the help that I need because because he doesn't want to let God down. He doesn't want to let his family down. They scared. I'm scared, but I got nobody to blame but myself. I know I have to put my hands. He said, I'll never put my hands on another person again. I've learned my lesson. When I talked about sharing my story, it's not a scheme. is real. It's a chance for me to teach kids and inmates that have lost hope that this will have a healing effect and a positive outcome. I want to say thank you to the jury and to the court for giving me courage in the jury, so that I know I didn't have to testify. I understand that the severity and the consequences of my actions. I know that the prosecution wants you to make an example out of me, but make an example of what a person can do when they are given another chance. He turns back to the kids and he says, I love you and thank you to the children for speaking. No, and he turns back. No matter what anyone says, I know that I'm truly sorry. Um, oh, and that was the end. Okay. And that was the end of Diddy's thing. So he sat down. Um, you could tell that he was, I mean, like, you're fighting for your life. He knows the government's asking for 11 years. He knows that probation has already said 5 years. He knows they're asking for 14 months, but he's heard he's leveled at a 27. So in order for the judge to get from the level in 27 that's supposed to be 70 to 82 months, he'll have to cut a substantial portion of his sentence down for him to get to 14 months. And he's already said he found no reason to deviate down. So the judge, I think he knew the writing was on the wall and he was very nervous. Now, he didn't like boo hoo cry. Look, Miss Westmoreland cried harder than Diddy did, okay? She did way too much. My humble opinion says I think the judge did give a chance because he could have got more time. Correct. hmm my best friend is from New York, and she and her siblings all say "mommy" for real. Okay, maybe it's a New York thing because I'm from the South, so we say "ma" or "mommy" or like mother, mom, mama. If I say "mommy," that means I'm crying about something or I'm in trouble with something. Like mommy is like I'm crying out. It's like something wrong, mommy. Mommy help me. So okay, maybe it's a up north thing. All right, so now the judge comes back. I think the judge took 5 minutes, right? So when Diddy finishes, the judge says, I'm taking 5 minutes. So he immediately steps off the bench, but nobody moves. We all just stand up. We stand in our place. Nobody's going anywhere because we just recently peed like 30 minutes ago. Ain't nobody moving because we know we're coming back to get the sentence. So everybody's just like, oh my God, Diddy just spoke. What do you think is going to happen? We're all having our little whispers. I'm like, I'm still at 5 years. The guy next to me was like, I'm at 3 years. Some people just wanted more. Tisa Tells ain't playing the radio with him, so she wants life. Everybody was just in there talking about kind of what their predictions were. So the judge comes back out and he goes into what I call like a shit sandwich. Like you start out with the sugar and then you put the shit in the middle, then you put the sugar in the end. So it's like he started out with all this great stuff. So he's like, Mr. Combs, I want you to understand and know that you are being sentenced to the Mann Act. No matter, you're not being sentenced to anything, nothing about the RICO, nothing about sex trafficking. You're being sentenced due to the Mann Act. So I just want you to know that no matter how it feels, I'm sentencing you due to the Mann Act only. However, the statute that the court is required to sentence you by requires that I look at the character and the nature of the offense and the history of the defendant. There's no limitation on how much I can look at of the character of the defendant. So as mentioned, history and character. And then he starts going into the good things. He said, you're a self-made artist and became more than that, and you uplifted your community. The impact on the Black community is impressive. You donated your time and money for worthy causes. That is commendable. You development of the course is impressive, and the court hopes you will continue to expand and help. You are, sorry, I can't read them. The court knows you had a problem with addiction. The court does understand this and knows that it exacerbated your issues. Freak offs hotel nights, and your relationship with Cassie and Jane, the court rejects. Oh, I don't know what that say. Y'all, I don't know what that says. The court rejects something. I'm sorry. That was my fingers was about to fall off at this point. He says, all of your good doesn't outweigh the pain to the victims. And like you could just tell the way he started off with saying all of this good stuff. Like, you've done great things for your community. You've been such an inspiration. You've been all that. It was just like all of this leading up to this big but. He was like, but the pain and the power and control over the lives of others. That you use the abuse to get your way. The freak off, the hotel nights, he says, was massive. Text messages, emails, and messages broken down in the video of the beating. Like, he's like, all of that was massive. The way you treated Jane and Cassie. Basically, he says, I have to come up with a punishment that is sufficient, but not unnecessary. Yeah. So like it has to be just enough to punish you for the crime, but not something that's gross and like unnecessary. So it's like a fine line that I'm trying to get here. So he talks about, he looks at the needs to reflect on what the offense was, the irreparable harm to the women. It was a decade long. It happens for so long. And this is a judge talking to Diddy. He said this happened for so long because you weren't caught and because you had the resources to keep it going, that you used coercion to keep it going. And the sentence must reflect that. And he said the sentence is requiring a significant sentence. The judge kept saying that, a significant sentence. He kept saying it over and over. He said after Miss Ventura's lawsuit, had been filed and served, and after your IG apology, where you said that you had hit rock bottom, that you still kicked down 5 doors in Jane's home, choked her, grabbed her by the head, slammed her down, or slapped her until she fell down. This is what the judge is saying. Like, even after you apologized, you did. This is what you did. He said, you are not, he said, take this something pill. You are not going to, the judge was quoting something that Diddy said to Jane. I guess Diddy told her, take this effing pill. You are not going to ruin my fucking night. The judge was cut. Like, judge was like quoting his word. This is what you did. So you chased Jane down. Then another time you told her, take this fucking pill. You are not going to ruin my fucking night. Basically, I guess the girl was like in pain or something was going on and she didn't want to do a freak off or something. And so basically he was like, take this drug and you're going to do it. The judge actually was saying this word for word. He said the court is not assured that this won't happen again. And when he said that, I was like, ugh. He said the court saw the messages and heard everything. These acts of violence. He said the sentence. Okay, these acts of violence are something, he said, and the sentence must be given to reflect that. So he went again, talk about this substantial sentence that is in the interest to protect the public from the defendant. 135 would be more than necessary. Court is not allowed to impose a sentence that is more than necessary. A sentence that takes into account a decade of Cassie and Jane's these are intimate partners that you chose to be physically violent. Like, these aren't just people off the street you don't know. These were your paramours. These are people that you professed love to, and that this is how you treated them. But he came again and said 135 months is not reasonable. The probation office, he talked about their report. He said that the probation officer looked at the same aggravating factors that the government is looking at, and they took into consideration the coercion, the violence, the drug use, and everything, and they came at 60 months. So he said the facts and circumstances of this case are unique. Mr. Combs, I sentence you to 50 months of incarceration. And nobody said anything. Like it wasn't a crime. The deputy, well, I tell you, these New York deputies were not playing. They had already, before the judge came back out, they stood on the family. One stood on the left side, one came to the right of the family row, and the one on the right side. He was like, you're not to make a peep. If you don't like what the judge says, oh well. If you were happy with the judge says, you save it till you get out. Don't make a sound. And when I tell you, ain't nobody make a sound. So I don't know if people were surprised, if the kids were expecting it, if somebody had told them like this is probably what it'll be, but that's the vibe you got. Like nobody made a reaction. So I don't know. I don't know if later, because people started shuffling out. So then you were kind of stuck with, do I wait and try to see if they're gonna bust out crying when they get outside? Or do I go downstairs and get my phone and hurry up and come out here and tell y'all what happened? Like, so I was kind of like trying to stay back and see. The family did hold back. They were coming out, but it was just light. It was almost like, leaving the repast of a funeral. Like, yeah, we were sad earlier, but now we kind of like got over it. We don't really have any emotions right now. We just like whatever. So I will tell you, Diddy was pissed. When he said 50 months, I wrote down, oh goodness, I'm dividing like how many 12 going to 50? 12, 24, 36, 48. I'm like 4 years and 2 months. Wow. Okay. I always thought 5 years, so I'm not surprised. He then started going over kind of like, what the other special conditions were. He asked them what facility they wanted to go to. They said, give us the Monday judge to make a recommendation. And this was the defense team. He was asking. He will be on 5 years supervised release whenever he's released. He will have some mandatory special conditions. He will have search conditions. So I'm assuming they're going to be doing drug screens and stuff. Forfeiture obligation. And he's already consented to the forfeiture. Outpatient and mental health. He has a $500,000 fine. It was $250,000 was the max, but it's two counts, so $500,000 fine. And he has an upward variance from guidelines. But it really wasn't. I don't know what that was about. Okay, no restitution. And there was a $200 special assessment victim fee, some court cost fee. And that was it. He then went to go speak to the victims and said he thanked the victims for coming forward because it would allow other victims to be strong to come forward and report when they are victimized. He talked, he kind of like spoke to things that Dr. King got up and the guy from King Clergy. I'm sorry. Oh, no, he didn't. He quoted Dr. King and said, out of the amount of despair, a store of hope or something like that. So a state of hope or something. So basically he was just saying like, take this moment to kind of like just get it together. You can get some help, keep doing the good things you're doing. When you get out, hopefully you'll be a changed man. But the judge was clear. You're getting this time based on the pain that he caused the victims and because he didn't feel like he was a changed man. That was it. He didn't feel like he was a changed man. So I pretty much took y'all through my day. So yeah, for always, forever, for life says, I thought it would be between 5 to 7.5 years. I kept on saying I had 5 on it, so I was really close. My humble opinion says he should have gotten at least 6 years. I just hope he does every day. He definitely is not going to do every day. He's going to get out earlier. There's no parole in the feds, but he can do a program to cut the time. And somebody said earlier about the Obama law, but Trump then took away everything Obama did. So I'm not sure if that's still in place, but I'll check and see. So we'll see when he'll get out a little early, but he'll probably do at least like 2 more years. My dude says, I hope some people learn today to stop putting your business on the internet. Comes back to bite you. Yeah, and just treating people shitty comes back to bite you as well. Nene says this trial exposed a lot. It sure did. It sure did. It sure did. Yeah, crying harder than Diddy. Look, they got hired to do a job and it was done. Yeah. Shanika Young says the judge was disgusted with his behavior. It really felt that way. The judge was like, "This is massive." You could just tell the judge, like, "I don't know nobody that does anything like this. Like, you are a mess." Can he get pardoned? He sure can. Yep, he can. So, but how's it gonna look for a sitting president to pardon somebody who was convicted of these type of acts? I don't know, but hey, look, y'all president do some crazy stuff every day, so we shall see. My dude says, "Thank you for all your hard work. You were great. Safe travels back." Thank you so much. I greatly appreciate that. Shanika Young says, "This was an awesome live as always." You're so sweet. Thank you so much. I'm so glad y'all stayed with me and enjoyed it. Oh, we've been on for 3 hours and 23 minutes. Next time we live, you let him know if it was long stroking, okay? No, we long stroked it tonight. Net 418, thank you, Fit. Appreciate you so much. Y'all are so welcome. This has been so fun. I'm glad y'all got me to stay on because I was like, because you know how you take shorthand notes. And if I go to sleep on this, I'm not going to remember what all this stuff means. Let me just come on and give it to y'all right now. So that way, I still could talk. I could probably do like 5 more shows on this sentencing hearing, though, y'all. I might just pick some different angles and do it and pull some other stuff because it was just so much going on. Like, I'll give y'all a good recap, but like the legal arguments and stuff for the time and moving it up and all that stuff are deep. So I may oh, my phone about to die. I may you know, do that one day and go over some stuff. But yeah, my battery's about to die. I got like 4% left on my phone. So I am going to get ready to wrap this live on up. We have been on here for 3 hours and 24 minutes. My flight leaves out of New York at 7 a.m. So I probably won't get much sleep. But hey, this has been amazing. So much fun. My Duke says someone asked L47 today. He said, "I don't know. I might because when you did wrong, like I was in the wrong, sometimes you second chance. I've heard a lot about the trial, but no one ever asked me yet. So I don't know. We'll see. Um, who knows?" Linda Kelly says, "You are so awesome. I like your style." Oh, thank you so much, Linda. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank y'all for tuning in. I really appreciate it. It was so fun today to come into town and just, you know, be in the sentencing here. It's my first time ever in New York, so that was really fun. So, oh, I missed this one. Shout out my humble opinion. Send a $10 super chat. Thank you, sis. I greatly appreciate that. Thank you so much. You hung in with me. We 3.5 hours, boy. We did it. We did it. All right, Net 418 sent her $5 super chat. Thank you again. Nene sent a $2 super chat. Thank you, Nene, and a $50 super chat. Thank you. Nene was so appreciative. Thank you. I really appreciate that because I was about to get off, and Nene was like, "No, come on and stay." The Jay Witt podcast. Shout out to a $5 super chat. He said we're running to Utah. Yep, we covered that one. Nene said another $5 super chat. He looked super old. Yep, we covered that. JC became a new member, and JC sent our first super chat for $5. Thank you all so much. Kia Elder says, "I had to step out, but thank you so much for not forgetting about us. You are beautiful." Thank you so much, Kia. Yes, I hung in there. I covered it all. So I'll be back because, like I said, we could talk about this thing for a while because it was just a lot today. So thank you all so much for tuning in. Thank you all for staying with me. Check out the other lives that I posted. I posted a video that he played for the family, so go check that out if you didn't see it. It's like 11 and a half minutes. I read Diddy's letter that he wrote. I got that on it as a short. That was a short, but the video from the other night's live. So y'all can check that out and just stay tuned. I'm gonna be coming back much more. I said once a week. So we are gonna be once a week. I'm gonna be live. I don't have it planned out what we're gonna talk about it. We're gonna talk about Diddy for a while though. So I will be live. Jay Witt and I got some collaborations coming up that we're gonna do. So just stay tuned. All right, Sweet Escape says TLL left AV to scream and honk her loud. No comments. Thank you, Fit, for all you've done. You're so sweet. Let TLA know we miss him. Thanks again. I'm looking forward to see you again. Oh, you are so welcome. I sure will. I will let him know that. Yeah, I sure will. Thank you so much. All right, guys. Well, it has been great. Yes, Kia, I am still losing weight. So I am like 30 pounds down since May. And I'm working on 30 more by the end of the year. So that's the goal. All natural, y'all already know. Ain't no shots, ain't no gimmicks over here. Follow me on Instagram or Facebook. I post a lot of there while I work out every day. Came through an amazing transformation process called the 4-day turn up that taught me a lot of stuff about nutrition, how to change my mind, get my discipline stuff together. So it has been a journey. So thank you so much for seeing that. And I am continuing on that healthy journey. Y'all get some rest. I need to go get sleep. I'm gonna get like 2 hours before oh look. Hold on. Okay. Cell phone died. Good thing I had my computer open. All right, so that means I need to take my butt to sleep too. So it has been amazing. Thank you all so much for tuning in. I know I got a lot of new followers today on TikTok, a lot of new followers. It's the Fit Lawyer ATL everywhere, so go follow me. I'll be coming back doing some more about this because it was just so amazing being in the courtroom today, y'all. Thank you so much for just like following along because I went live last night. I was live early this morning, live after, live during lunch, and y'all just been there the whole time. So I greatly appreciate this. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe. And guess what? I'll see you in court. Good night.